So, get this, we've got a full-blown cult meeting, complete with creepy hooded dudes worshipping a giant red rock on an altar. Then, out of the blue, some poor demon gets diced, and we spot this absolute madman just yeeting attacks all over the place. Turns out this unhinged lunatic is Ray Chang, the so-called swordmaster. He's screaming at the grunts that he's gonna carve a path for them and to get in line behind him. Next up, some old geezer rolls in, slinging spells from the back of a freaking T-Rex. That would be the necromancer, Jorb Vilmere. And of course, making her grand entrance, the one you've all been waiting for, it's our favorite blonde priestess, Maria Jagger. She dramatically points her sword and shouts, "We have to shut down this summoning ritual." And right on cue, some mysterious voice goes, "Too late." The big red crystal starts pulsing with some seriously bad vibes, looking like it's about to go nuclear. It starts cracking open. And of course, a system notification pops up to announce the tower's difficulty just got cranked to hard mode. Cue a massive explosion, and some nightmare fuel creature slithers out of the crystal's remains. The system dings again with a fresh update. The tower objective has changed. Everybody's just frozen solid, gawking at the new boss. Yep, that's the Season 5 big bad, the Plague Elder. Personally, I think he looks like a goblin from the discount aisle at Walmart, and before you can even blink, he's already swinging wildly, launching soldiers left and right. The system helpfully displays the new mission. Objective: take out the Plague Elder. In the meantime, the frontline grunts are getting absolutely wrecked by tentacles. Spoiler alert, they're all toast. Our girl, the priestess, is sweating buckets, desperately trying to hold her ground against the Plague Elder's onslaught. But the boss is just having a grand old time, flailing those tentacles everywhere, and mopping the floor with everyone. And Ray, our swordmaster, is shaking in his boots, whimpering about not wanting to die before he just bolts. Some poor soldier tries to call him back, but the dude's already gone, booking it faster than a speeding bullet. That's when our Walmart brand Piccolo lifts his blade, wondering aloud where that pathetic little human thinks he's off to. He lets loose a single swing, and boom, total annihilation in every direction. And just as Ray is about to get deleted from existence, someone swoops in and parries the Plague Elder's attack. All the NPCs in the background are totally stunned, slowly realizing that they've been saved, because their rescuer is none other than the Hero King. And let's be real, I was half convinced that Swordmaster was our main character, but nope, he's just a yellow-bellied chicken who almost got one-shotted after turning tail. Anyway, feast your eyes on him, our golden boy, rocking that classic, super serious protagonist expression. And without a moment's hesitation, he blitzes the boss, who claps back with a flurry of slashes aimed right at our hero. Channeling his inner son Jin Woo, he effortlessly swats away every single one of Walmart Piccolo's attacks. The Plague Elder cracks a little smirk, and just as they're about to throw down, a massive explosion erupts. Everyone's scrambling for cover, even our resident blonde priestess. She screams his name, Yoon Sung. Wait a minute, I knew it. Of course, there had to be a song pun in there somewhere. Meanwhile, as they're trading blows, the Plague Elder flashes a creepy smile. "To think you dare face me alone," he scoffs. "How foolish. And they call you the hope of humanity. The Hero King shall drown in a sea of my pestilence," he declares with a smug as hell grin. This knockoff Piccolo gloats that our boy is going to die here, all alone with no one coming to save him. But our guy looks completely unbothered by the Elder's whole villain speech. In fact, he's more worried about holding back so people don't see his full power. He flashes this cocky smile and says, "Let's end this." The boss, looking completely bewildered, has no idea what's happening. A freaking lightning bolt crashes down from the sky, striking and utterly obliterating our Walmart Piccolo. Everyone immediately throws up a guard to shield themselves from the massive shockwave. George is just standing there completely dumbfounded, unable to process what he's just seen. And then the soldiers just erupt into cheers, screaming that they've actually won, while our boy stands in the center of it all, looking like a total Chad. And with that, the system announces that the Plague Elder has been defeated, and all players in the top 100 will get a rare rank or higher equipment ticket. For the top 10 players, it's a heroic rank ticket, and obviously for our main character, it's a straight-up mythic rank ticket, along with the Black Death and the title of Elder Slayer, since he's the one who iced the boss. Then he just collapses onto the ground, lying there and staring off into space, deep in thought. He thinks to himself, thanks to this, the world gets to survive for one more year. We then cut to an interview where they're hyping up our boy as the rank 1 hero for 4 years running. They're calling him a hero among heroes, the king. And he's just standing there with that classic blank expression while 1,000 flashbulbs go off. Guess the guy's a pretty big deal. We even see a little girl hugging a plushie of him and some guy selling bootleg shirts with his face on them. Anyway, back at the interview. Someone asks if he has a message for all the other heroes gathered there. Maria instantly grabs his arm, begging him to please, for the love of God, say something polite, clasping her hands together in prayer. Look, this is airing live, so for the love of all that is holy, don't screw this up. Or so they said. Turns out, the entire super squad of heroes is gathered in one place. Maria's over there sweating more than a gamer in the final boss fight. And we just found out this whole circus is happening at the UN headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. With a troll-face grin, our boy snatches the mic and drops a line so spicy it would get this channel sent to the Shadow Realm. Then he caps it off by saying he's only in it for the cold, hard cash. Instantly, the room goes silent. Maria looks like her soul just left her body. He slams his fist on the table and declares, "I've been sick and tired of this charade for a long time. Going at it solo is just too damn hard." And cue the flashback, because the next chapter shows us how this whole apocalypse party got started. The world suddenly got a system update it never asked for, and countless towers materialized in the sky. A few days later, monsters started pouring out, kicking off an all-you-can-eat human buffet that was devastating the population. A colossal goblin swings its cleaver, and it dawns on everyone that the world is officially checking out. A stunning woman is down for the count. We've only got one waifu left, and another one is about to get deleted. You better run, girl. Blood goes flying as she screams. But then, a certified badass makes his grand entrance, and cleanly relieves the goblin of its arm. Meet the players. Their job description? Slay monsters, save the normies. Then the universe dropped the patch notes for the new world, explaining that the monster jailbreak can be stopped, as long as the towers are cleared before the timer hits 0. Textbook Isekai starter pack, am I right? This is exactly why these super-powered players were hailed as the saviors of this new, chaotic world. Flashing back to the present, our boy is still on his "I'm tired and just want to get paid" rant. Meanwhile, this absolute clown is just sitting there, perched like L from Death Note, watching his own broadcast and telling everyone to go buy his merch. He pulls up the PF, the player forum, which is basically Reddit for hunters to trade loot and spill the tea. Our protagonist starts typing, wondering how in the world these keyboard warriors even figured out it was him. Some are begging to join his party, others are just dying to know his real identity. Then one guy, claiming he's a reporter, makes a wild announcement. He says he's literally camping outside our hero's house until the new season drops. That's the last straw. Our boy peeks out the window and sees a full-blown media swarm on his lawn, which is basically his personal hell. He strolls outside with maximum Chad energy, hands casually stuffed in his pockets. A reporter immediately charges him, demanding to know his game plan for the new season and what he meant by being tired for a long time. With a smirk that could curdle milk, our boy just asks, "You know that classic line celebrities drop on TV after they get hammered and make a complete mess of things?" This smooth operator just flashes a grin and promises to make up for it with good work. Meanwhile, the reporters are just standing there, completely baffled, trying to figure out what that's even supposed to mean. Yeah, I never got it either. Anyway, right on cue, the entire ground starts to violently shake. A massive tremor rocks the city, and a little system window pops up, cheerfully announcing the start of Season 6. It advises all players to review the new information before they dare to enter the tower. The system, in its usual cutesy fashion, reminds everyone to be extra careful on their way down. Suddenly, a whole mess of towers erupt from the ground as the system issues a grave warning. Conquer the towers and save the world from total annihilation. All the reporters are just frozen stiff, gawking at the sky. But our boy, he just casually pulls up his hood and starts walking off like nothing's happening. He even leaves behind a stack of flyers promoting his new line of t-shirts and plushies. What an absolute digital marketing legend. Just then, a system notification dings, announcing that a player has already reached their destination. Of course, it's our guy, already on site and complaining that there's nobody else there. He's just muttering about how the first day of the season is always a total ghost town. That's when a group of elders materializes, laughing their heads off and showering him with blessings. The bald dude with horns is the Elder of Steel, and the elf lady with the blue hair is the Elder of Ice. And he's just standing there, casually scratching his cheek while they're dumping all these insane buffs on him. So, it turns out there are these godlike beings who basically watch the players for entertainment. And the more you act like a complete troll, the more these elders absolutely love you, rewarding your shenanigans with completely game-breaking blessings. Just like that time he pulled that stunt during the UN interview. Just casually messing with world leaders. On that very same day, the Elder of Gold just lost his mind laughing and granted him the blessing of the legendary gacha. What this means is our boy's luck gets a ridiculous boost for his next 3 gacha pulls, literally guaranteeing him at least one legendary tier reward. This is just absurdly broken, folks. The absolute madman just grins and says, "Open all unclaimed rewards simultaneously." He lifts his hand, and you can already see that legendary golden glow. This glorious doofus looks exactly like me opening cases in Counter-Strike, convinced that this is the one where I finally pull a knife. But since he's got that main character plot armor, of course he snags a legendary cloak that is just stupidly overpowered. It has so many stat lines that it would take a solid hour just to read the item description. The short version is, it has 999 evasion, and whenever he puts it on, this bad boy can pop the Surf Shield skill, though it's got a whopping 168-hour cooldown. Our guy just cracks a grin, thinking to himself, legendary armor, a legendary skill, and a legendary artifact. The holy trinity of loot. Then he strikes a pose like the absolute Chad he is, hands in his pockets, and casually declares, "Enter the tower." Poof. He's teleported, and wouldn't you know it, another system notification immediately pops up. The Elder of Gold has yoinked the legendary Gacha blessing and swapped it out for the blessing of short sales. Seriously, I need a sugar daddy elder like that in my life, hooking me up with new gear. He materializes in the tower just in time for a giant green foot to slam down, followed by the roar of an enraged orc. Annihilate the human. Yep, our boy has landed in the Moonblood Orc Tribe Tower, Tier 3. With a confident smirk, he decides it's the perfect time to test out his new toys, Create Ice Blade. He instantly summons the blade, gives a mental shout-out to the Ice Elder, and blitzes forward, unleashing a ridiculously powerful slash. The orcs are completely flabbergasted. One of them actually tries to swing an axe, bless his little green heart, but gets flash frozen mid-swing. Our guy is a whirlwind of destruction, just spamming icy slashes in every conceivable direction. A literal second later, it's all over. He casually strolls through a new sculpture garden of frozen orcs, looking like an absolute unit. He gets a massive stat boost, and even levels up right then and there. A system window dings. First floor cleared. He just scratches his head with a goofy smile, muttering, "Not a bad warm-up. Maybe I'll go save the world or something again." And with that, he heads up to the second floor, where he's already sporting a face that screams Monday morning. Peeking over the edge, he sees a whole frat party of orcs drinking, partying, and generally being obnoxious. One of them spots our protagonist, and suddenly they're all screaming to take the hero down, vowing to fight with honor down to their very last breath, which is coming up real soon. But our guy is basically a walking cheat code at this point. He just calmly tells them to chill out as he leaps into the air, yelling that he's about to send them all on a one-way trip to the afterlife. The scene smash cuts to stairs. Yep, it's just our protagonist, having already cleared a few more floors, now reaching the 4th level. Thinking, man, I love grinding EXP, but this no save point marathon is getting rough. And just then, something up ahead catches his eye. It's a welcoming committee of elite orcs, conveniently blocking the path to the boss room. He just stares at them, completely unimpressed, thinking about how painfully obvious this whole mini-boss rush setup is. Then the little system window chimes in again with a dramatic, "Fight for your life with honor," followed immediately by another notification. The Elder of Iron has just buffed the elite orcs. The head orc starts bellowing that the Elder of Iron has blessed them, and all the other meatheads start cheering like they've already won. "Valhalla awaits us," they chant. Oh boy, these poor schmucks are actually about to throw down with our main character. They're even busting out a battle hymn for the Elder of Iron as they barrel right towards our guy. Kang's basically like, "Hold up, time out," and starts getting into his stance, just windmilling slashes everywhere, but then something weird catches his eye. One orc slides in low, while another tries a pincer move from the air, a classic combo. They're trying to land the finishing blow, but he dodges and counters with a backslash, which does absolutely nothing. He mutters to himself, "I knew it. These aren't your garden variety orcs, they're elites with some serious defense buffs." A couple more orcs try to get a piece of him, but he's just hopping around like a rabbit on an energy drink, dodging every single swing. Sizing them up, he figures he's gonna need a big ticket area of effect skill to wipe these guys out, but the only problem is, he's fresh out of skills. Then, a light bulb goes off as he remembers a little something something and pulls up his inventory. He just stares at the item, contemplating the power move. He's thinking, man, I don't know if I can handle the kickback from this thing yet. Meanwhile, the orcs are getting salty, yelling for him to get down and fight like a real warrior. One of them just yeets a giant axe straight at his face. And right then, our boy decides, you know what? Screw it. Realizing this is no time to be shy about using the big guns, he slaps that equip button on the artifact, and the classic system window pops right up. Asterisk, ding, asterisk, you have equipped the frozen heart. You have gained the effects of glacial synergy. Gripping his newly iced-out blade, our guy drops that classic line, the rich get richer and the strong get stronger. An orc swings its massive axe, aiming to turn him into paste, but it gets blocked hard. Our boy's left arm morphs into a solid ice shield, and with a swift counter, he slices the orc clean in half. The poor thing is now an orc sickle on the floor, as our boy gets that sweet, sweet experience. Asterisk. Level up. Asterisk. 2 more orcs try to jump him from behind, but he blocks their attacks effortlessly, grabbing hold of their weapons. He flash freezes their steel and shatters it into a million tiny pieces, leaving the orcs just standing there with their jaws on the floor. They're totally clueless about what to do next, so he winds up another strike, and times bam asterisk, 2 more orcs bite the dust. Another one tries a heroic leap to crush him from above, only to get diced mid-flight. He ends up as a modern art installation on the ceiling, and all the while, our protagonist is just racking up those level-up notifications. Channeling his inner Sun Jin Woo, Kang is now dual-wielding daggers. And you can see it on one of the orcs' faces, that classic, oh we are so boned expression. Honestly, dude, I feel you. I'd be thinking the exact same thing in your spot. And then, the blender mode activates. A slash here, a slice there, and a big ol' X-shaped finisher right through the chest. Yeah, this dude is definitely taking notes from the Shadow Monarch himself. He's an absolute beast, unleashing another non-stop flurry of slashes. And the orc just stands there, its tiny brain failing to process what the heck is going on. Posing like an absolute Chad, he smirks and announces another floor cleared, then goes, oops, forgot one, spins around, and yeets a giant ice orb straight into an orc's face. It drops to the floor, completely unalived. Then, the notification spam begins. You have cleared the elite floor. The system starts raining down random skills and 1,000 achievement points. Using the poor orc's back as a footstool, he commands, open skill box. A flash of blue light blinds the area, and he's rewarded with a common skill. He lets out a massive groan of disappointment, whining that he was totally expecting a legendary drop. Aim thrust. It basically just turns a physical skill into a piercing attack. Yawn. Strolling forward, he scoffs. A common skill. Huh? Well, I guess it's better than nothing. Equip skill. He opens a portal and lands in what appears to be the tower's central hub. Someone pipes up to greet him, congratulating him on not being dead yet. Our boy shoots back, you sound a little disappointed. The little elf girl replies, not a chance. I need you breathing so I can sell you more stuff. She peeks at his stats and whistles. 1,600 points. That's a fat stack. You'd better spend them before you bite the dust. This is Automata, the shopkeeper, a little gizmo from the Elder of Machines. The protagonist asks to see her wares, and she immediately shoves a bunch of card packs in his face, promising he just might pull a legendary one from the gacha. Don't fall for that, kids. Which is exactly what I do every time I open a case in CS2. Anyway, after that solid piece of advice, the protagonist wisely spends only 300 points on a single speed potion and 1 fire potion. He's already walking off as Automata desperately yells at him to come back and gamble on the card packs. But our boy, completely unswayed, just covers his ears, chanting, la la la, I can't hear you. And boom, a wild system notification appears, announcing that he's just waltzed into the boss floor. He comes face to face with the big guy, who growls, it's go time. In the blink of an eye, the boss flash steps right in front of him, unleashing a Mondo attack that he blocks with a magic barrier. But the barrier shatters into a million pieces. Our hero's jaw hits the floor. He scrambles back, shouting, this guy is a freaking giant. The other orcs were like little green toddlers compared to him. He quickly snatches the fire potion and lobs it right at the boss's face, setting the whole scene ablaze. Oh yeah, Looks like we're having extra crispy orc for dinner tonight. Or maybe not, since the boss's whole gimmick is shutting down fire magic. But our boy's already playing 5D chess and is right behind him, jamming his blade right into the back of its neck. He follows up with a lightning-fast vertical slash that splits the boss's chest wide open. Our hero cracks a smirk, quipping, "Hey, that wasn't half bad for a warm-up." Just then, some gross green goo splatters on the floor as the boss growls. "This ain't over!" It lets out a massive roar, popping its berserker skill. Kang just glances back with a classic troll grin, basically daring it to bring it on. The boss goes full-on rage mode, and our guy casually pops a shield. And with a voice dripping in sarcasm, he deadpans, "Wow, if that shockwave had actually hit me, I totally would have been toast." The boss, not getting the joke, charges again, unleashing a double whammy that completely shatters his shield. But Kang just hops back, starting a little countdown. He's barely even trying, just dodging and weaving while counting down from 113. He leaps, sidesteps, another attack. 59. 3. 2. Then, casually scoops up the fire potion bottle from the floor. Right on one, he yeets the bottle. Asterisk, ding. Asterisk. He strikes a pose, totally ready for his close-up. And what do you know? The berserk mode timer ran out. The boss just collapses, a massive crater where its chest used to be. And, here it comes, the system spams him with notifications about clearing the orc tower and the metric ton of rewards he's getting. But amidst all that digital confetti, the real prize is the Aspect skill card pack. It's a total gacha roll, could be a useless common or a game-breaking legendary. He tells the system to crack it open, and boom, a common skill. He just stands there with the most unimpressed look on his face, having pulled a skill literally called Ice Projectile. After a quick inspection, he mutters about how much this game's RNG stinks and just walks away. Next up, we're in the Tower of the Dark Sadness. Seriously? What a lame name. Come on, author, you can do better than that. A bunch of pint-sized demons are already swarming our guy, but he's just standing there, completely still, casually charging up a skill. Then he lets loose that brand new, terrible skill on them. He throws his arms out wide like a proud papa and declares how much he adores grinding his skills. A skill-up notification flashes, and the system chimes in that Wave 2 is about to kick off. Suddenly, an entire legion of purple demons materializes, all looking eager to turn our hero into a smear on the floor. Kang just flashes that cheeky grin and goes, "Hang on a sec, fellas. I'm about to give you exactly what you came for." And, slash. A single blue flash of light carves through the entire mob. Skill leveled up, easy peasy. Then some booming voice calls him a filthy heretic. He just stands there, watching the show, and that's the cue for the Devil Bishop, this tower's main event, to make his grand entrance. Screaming about how he's gonna turn Kang's blood into a juice box for the Demon King. The Bishop, looking like some kind of B-movie monster, points a bony finger and screeches, "Get him, waste him." But before his minions can even twitch a muscle, they're instantly sliced and sent flying like bowling pins. The boss spins around in total confusion, and our boy, not one to waste an opportunity, carves him up too. By the time the bishop finally registers what happened, it's way too late. He's been flash frozen like a TV dinner. Our guy casually strolls toward him, thinking, "Well, this is perfect. Now I've got a new training dummy." For instance, he can test just how many ice weapons he can spit out at his current level. He summons the icy spears and gets ready for a little game of pin the tail on the bishop, launching one after another, turning the holy man into a human pincushion who now looks a lot like Swiss cheese. But there's still one spear left. He puts a little extra oomph into this last one, and the bishop just shatters into a million icy bits. Ding, the system notifications roll in. He gets another random equipment drop and immediately tells the system to crack it open. The prize? Some basic, common armor. He scoffs, saying he doesn't need it when he's already rocking a legendary set. Scratching his chin, he mumbles that he didn't really feel a huge power spike from using 8 ice blades at once. Just then, a brand new message materializes out of thin air. Confront your shadow. He whips around and sees a massive event window. Long story short, inside this tower world, there are these powerful factions run by a bunch of old dudes called elders. These cliques are always trying to recruit players to expand their turf and power, and in return, players can knock out their quests to score some top-tier rewards. It seems our boy already smashed the accept button, because we're instantly teleported to a meeting of the Shadow Council. Apparently, he's no stranger here, since one of the cloaked figures says they remember him. Another one pipes up with, "Will you face your shadow and once more embrace our deepest secrets?" Our hero just stands there, letting the dramatic question hang in the air while the gears in his head turn. He's thinking the Shadow Council is a pretty sweet deal, but what he says out loud is a little different. "You all know I'm interested, but let's be real. You've got a lot of enemies who want you gone." A guy who looks like a crow from a dollar store replies, "You will be shielded by our cloak. Have you forgotten what we are capable of?" Our boy smirks and says he hasn't forgotten at all. "And that's the exact reason I'm hesitant." The crow man leans in. "Then what is it you desire?" That's the question our boy was waiting for. A sly grin spreads across his face. He's not joining this club for free. He holds out his hand and lays down his price. He wants the Beast of Shadows. And to top it all off, he also demands a rare dark skill card. The Shadow Crows are so stunned they practically deflate. They have absolutely no idea what to say. One of them finally hisses, "Don't get ahead of yourself, mortal. You mortals are nothing," but Ken just cuts him right off, saying, "All right, whatever. It's been a real slice. Hope we never do this again. See ya." But then, a voice from the back calls out for him to wait. In a flash, a shadowy cat appears. And I gotta say, even for a creature of pure darkness, it's unbelievably adorable. Am I right, people? Team Cats for life. It pounces towards our protagonist, and a system message pops up. "You've received the Beast of Shadows." And with that, he snags a special achievement called Hidden Adoption. The Shadow Beast sits proudly by his feet, looking like an absolute boss. He also banks a cool 100,000 achievement points. Okay, the author definitely just shattered the power scaling with that move. Kang is all smiles, petting his new cat when another reward materializes. The rare skill Shadow Blade. The Crow Elder, looking completely defeated, asks if that's everything. Check out that smug grin. He says, "Fantastic, I'll officially join the Shadow Council." The scene then cuts to our boy stretching, declaring, "This season's off to one heck of a start." He even adds that maybe he'll take a short break. Right on cue, two guys appear behind him, calling his name. He whirls around with a sigh, muttering, "Aw, seriously? Here we go again." A whole mob of reporters swarms him, bombarding him with the usual questions, like how he managed to clear 2 Tier 3 towers in a single day, begging him to reveal his secret. He just stands there with his eyes shut, annoyed by the camera flashes, and says, "I guess I'm just that good." Pretty wild, right? One reporter brings up rumors that the Swordmaster from China also conquered a Tier 4 tower, saying, "Things are really heating up this season." Kang looks genuinely shocked, thinking, "Tier 4? He then asks how many people the guy had with him. The reporter says the Swordmaster was backed by 5 veterans from the Chinese guild, but 4 of them didn't make it out. Crossing his arms, our boy remarks that the guy must be a real pro at using meat shields. One of the reporters gasps, asking if he's accusing the Swordmaster of intentionally using people as fodder. At that exact moment, breaking news hits everyone's phones. The Swordmaster has just stepped into a Tier 5 tower. Our protagonist casually asks, "So how many poor souls did he bring with him this time?" They answer that he went alone. Folding his arms, he sarcastically notes that someone's way too hyped for day one. He's thinking to himself that it makes 0 sense to go charging into the towers the second the season opens. That's why the sage is busy grinding for skills and items, and the necromancer is off handling his own shadowy business. Still lost in thought, he mutters, "The Swordmaster must have scored some seriously epic loot from that level 4 tower." The reporters, giving him 0 personal space, immediately start grilling him about his opinion on the Swordmaster. He casually scratches his ear, rocking the most "I'm so over this" expression imaginable, and deadpans, "The Swordmaster? He's a complete meathead." The reporters are absolutely floored. They stammer, asking if he's really not planning to compete with this meathead master. Holding up a hand, he says, "I guess you guys haven't figured me out yet. Sure, I'm a meathead too, but I'm the kind of meathead who actually wins." The reporters are just speechless, begging him to take it back. Completely changing the topic, our guy asks who can give him a lift to the level 5 tower. The scene flashes to him stepping onto a shimmering golden teleportation circle. Out of nowhere, a bunch of system windows flood his vision, announcing that a betting pool has just opened up among the Elders, hosted by none other than the Elder of Jesters. The Monarch of Frost throws down a bet on him, adding a chilly warning not to let him down. Inside the Tower of War, an absolutely legendary historical defense battle was about to kick off. The catch? Players couldn't be on the same team. The raid's objective was brutally simple: come out on top. Our boy already knew the Swordmaster would be there, This was the exact showdown he'd been waiting for. The second he confirmed it, he dived right into the tower. A system message immediately pops up in his face. The merciless Cavalith Empire has launched a war of conquest, and their forces are now at the very gates of the Rhodia Kingdom's fortress. The fate of this epic battle is now in your hands. Kang has to choose: join the conquest or lead the defense. For a split second, he's stumped, not sure which side to pick. But then, he spots it. The Swordmaster already picked the Cavalith Empire. Without even a second thought, he slams the button for the Kingdom of Rhodia. Since they were the underdogs, the rewards for winning would be astronomically bigger. And just like that, he's zapped into a war room filled with the officers of the Rhodia Kingdom, and the whole place just erupts, cheering and screaming that their champion has finally arrived. You've got some psycho blonde dude praising the heavens, and other soldiers practically spooning in celebration. He glances around and sees everyone is already gearing up for the impending beatdown. He casually grabs a chair and is like, "So, who's the boss here?" The whole room goes dead quiet. Then, a pair of fancy boots clacks forward. Some guy introduces himself as Muda Duchamp, the supposed defense commander of this fortress. This tubby dude immediately starts spouting nonsense about his royal bloodline and yada yada yada. But our boy ain't got time for that. He cuts him off cold and asks, "Look, do you actually want to win this thing or not?" Acting all high and mighty, the glorified dumpling puffs out his chest and says, of course he does, babbling on about how their military might be trash, but their kingdom's spirit is totally OP. And while the blowhard is still monologuing, Kang just decks him right in the breadbasket, sending the guy flying backwards like a human bowling ball aimed for a strike. Our hero stands over the scene and declares, "All right, I'm in charge now." He looks over at the shaking in their boots soldiers and tells them to give him the full rundown on their forces and the Empire's stat. Next thing you know, he's surveying the kingdom, doing the math. 5,000 soldiers and about 900 archers, basically a glorified welcome party compared to the Empire's massive army. The one silver lining? It looks like this world is a total magic-free zone. No mages, no fireballs, nothing. On top of that, the Swordmaster's skill set is built for one-on-one duels, not for mowing down a whole horde of enemies. See, he's the apostle of the Elder of Steel. Now, usually, a player can only sign a contract with a single Elder. Because of that, they're stuck getting rewards from just that one monarch. But me? I'm a special case. I can rake in the goodies from multiple patrons. I'm the only one who has this cheat code, all thanks to the Monarch of Jesters. On the flip side, monarchs can link up with a bunch of different players, but they can only pick one to be their official apostle. Monarchs shower their apostles with insane buffs and support, but it comes with some serious strings attached. For instance, the Swordmaster can't go all out with any skill that isn't related to the Monarch of Steel. Feeling pretty smug about it, he figures this battle is totally winnable, but the soldiers around him are about to wet their pants. See, nobody really knows if the kingdoms inside these towers are the real deal. They could be actual people, or just some NPCs that only exist inside the tower. Though, honestly, at this stage of the game, I'm not sure it even matters. Alright, so how the heck am I supposed to boost the morale of these scaredy cats? The scene cuts to birds soaring in the sky as someone screams that the player has arrived to save the kingdom. They also drop the bombshell that Duke Duchamp has been officially fired from his cushy commander gig and that our boy is taking the reins. A few of the soldiers actually start cheering, yelling about how that fat slob finally got the boot and a real player is in charge now. Our MC can't help but smirk. Just by giving Duke Muda his walking papers, the army's morale has skyrocketed. Then, out of nowhere, Kang hears a massive ruckus. Some guy screams that the enemy is making their move. The archers let loose a storm of arrows, and one unlucky chump catches an arrowhead right in his loud mouth while trying to scale the wall. Another grunt hollers that the bad guys are all bottlenecked at the main gate. He figures shutting down this push will absolutely demolish what's left of their fighting spirit. Our dude flashes a wicked grin and summons the Beast of Shadows. And I'm not gonna lie, I totally pictured a fluffy little kitten or something, but nope. It's a freaking colossal Tyrannosaurus Rex. He tightens his grip on his sword and tells his kitty to go wild. The enemy troops are, understandably, soiling their armor, screaming about what in the world that thing is. One of them shrieks that he can feel a ridiculously evil aura coming from behind the wall. Their commander is desperately trying to get them to hold the line and keep it together. But he's cut off mid-pep talk by a blood-curdling scream, and everyone's looking around like, what was that? Asterisk, schwing, asterisk. The red paint starts flying. All you can hear is the sound of slicing and dicing as dozens of soldiers get turned into human shish kebabs. A terrified soldier breaks rank, screaming that it's a monster and that they need to fall back to a different wall, like, right now. Too bad for them, our boy is already waiting there. He flash freezes the whole lot of them with his ice magic, casually mentioning that his little kitty is feeling a bit peckish. With a troll face grin, he says, "Bon appétit, chomp." And just like that, the Beast of Shadows deletes the entire squad. Flipping to the next chapter, we see a fresh volley of arrows raining down on the enemy forces. Meanwhile, our protagonist is just casually flinging out massive ice blades all over the battlefield. Then, it suddenly clicks for him. Wait a minute. Where's the Swordmaster? Our hero starts weighing the pros and cons. This whole situation is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's awesome for troop morale, but on the other, it basically puts a giant, "I'm right here" sign on his back for the enemy player. One of the lookouts yells that the enemy player is actually fighting on the front lines, but hold on. This isn't some fight to the bitter end. Just like any other video game, this tower has a specific set of rules. See, when one player gets beaten by another player, the loser just gets booted from the tower, and their run is officially marked as a big fat fail. Players can't actually unalive each other in here, but the tower itself? Oh yeah, it can totally delete you from existence. Our boy thinks to himself, yeah, I'm not kicking the bucket here, but that doesn't mean he's just gonna roll over and accept a loss. With a deadpan look, he says, "Oh, so that's how we're playing this, huh?" And immediately unleashes a literal hurricane of blades on the enemy mooks, mowing them all down. Getting annoyed, he thinks, is this Swordmaster clown just gonna wait until all his minions are toast? Just then, something seriously weird starts happening with all the swords lying around. One of his allied soldiers looks up and screams, "The swords! They're moving on their own." And just like that, every single blade zips right toward our boy. He's already analyzing the situation, realizing the Swordmaster is pulling some high-level sword telekinesis shenanigans. He's actually wondering how this chump managed to get his hands on such a heroic tier skill. Was it a lucky drop? Or did the Monarch of Steel just hand it to him? Leaping into the air, he effortlessly dodges a sword aimed right for his face, weaving through the storm of flying metal. He has to admit, the guy really came prepared. A smirk plays on his lips as he says, "But I haven't exactly been napping either." He touches down, channeling his shadow power and completely obliterating a wave of swords rushing his way. Then comes the trash talk. He scoffs, "A little late to the party, pal. I already finished maxing out my Shadow Blade skill." The enemy soldiers start freaking out, shouting, "It's the player! He's here! He's with the Cavalith Empire! He's the Emperor's champion!" Our boy puts two and two together. This whole over-the-top display is just for him. The enemy soldiers, though, are getting all hyped up, thinking the tide is actually turning in their favor. With a classic smirk, our boy whips out his ice sword and basically tells them they'll need to try a lot harder than that to take him down. He slams his sword into the ground, knowing the enemy's big move has a fatal flaw. The more blades he tries to control, the weaker the whole ability gets. Getting ready to shut this down, he mutters, "Yeah, that's not gonna work." A grin spreads across his face as a shield materializes out of nowhere. A second later, we see some poor sap trying to block the resulting blast. The shield cracks and the enemy gets launched backward, looking like a total Chad. Our protagonist, of course, can't resist a little mockery. "You seriously thought times little light show was enough to beat me, didn't you? It never crossed your mind to, I don't know, aim that cute little sword kinesis trick at the fortress instead?" The Swordmaster, annoyed, just scoffs. "Do you even have a clue what the victory conditions are for this tower? Even if we leveled the fortress and wiped out every last soldier, the only way the Empire wins is by taking you times down." To which Kang replies, "And you still picked their side, even knowing all that? Pfft, you really think you're the one who's gonna take me down?" The Swordmaster goes on this whole spiel about how a hero's sacred duty is to protect the world, and how a degenerate like Kang couldn't possibly get it. He's really starting to lose his cool now, screaming that Kang is unworthy of the title Hero King. But Kang, of course, has the perfect comeback. "So, I guess your own guild members didn't make the cut for that world you're supposed to be protecting, huh?" Totally triggered, the Swordmaster just loses it and charges, screaming at the top of his lungs, "I'm gonna make sure you don't die a peaceful death." Kang just grins back and says, "Oh, don't you worry about me. I'm definitely not checking out before you do." He casually throws up an ice shield to block and immediately hits back. The Swordmaster scoffs that such cheap tricks are useless. But then his spidey sense goes off. There's someone behind him. He whips around, his blade already glowing, totally ready to throw down. He knows the bigwigs are watching, and taking an L here would be a very bad look. That's when Kang turns back, sporting that classic troll grin, and says, "Yeah, I'm not actually fighting you." And with that, he just bolts in the complete opposite direction. The Swordmaster is left standing there, completely dumbfounded. Like, where the heck is this guy going? And then, the light bulb finally goes on. The whole reason Kang was making such a big, flashy scene from the get-go wasn't to pump up his own troops' morale. Nope. Our boy is making a beeline straight for the enemy's backline, who are already freaking out and scrambling to get away. Realizing he's been played, the Swordmaster floors it, trying to catch up, bellowing like a madman. "Stop him! Stop him right now! Use everything you've got on Kang." Cut to the enemy commander's tent, where absolute chaos is breaking out. Soldiers outside are screaming about some monster and telling everyone to run for their lives. Inside, the commander is both furious and totally clueless, demanding to know what all the commotion is about, while his guards are trying to keep him from having a meltdown. And just then, our boy literally crashes the party, strolling into the tent like he owns the place. "There you are," he says, his eyes locking on the commander. "You know, there's always more than one way to win a game." And he gets ready to end this. In the next chapter, we're back, and the soldiers are in a full-blown panic, as Kang lunges forward with a single horizontal slash that slices the commander clean in two. The Swordmaster bursts in just a second too late, screaming, "You absolute bastard." Kang just smirks back at him. "Probably should have kept your commander on a tighter leash. Didn't it ever occur to you that all I had to do was cut the head off the snake to stop this whole invasion?" Completely unhinged now, the Swordmaster goes all out, charging at Kang with every ounce of power he has, but poof, his sword just vanishes into thin air. A system notification pops up. It's too late. The tower has officially been cleared, and for his prize, Kang gets to yoink one of the Swordmaster's own abilities. He's presented with 3 tasty options. All the Swordmaster can do is growl in pure, helpless frustration. "You absolute scumbag. I'm gonna end you. You're dead meat, you hear me?" But Kang just keeps poking the bear, casually picking the Swordmaster's ability while he's at it, and goes, "Oh, you insist I take this one? Well, if you twist my arm." And just like that, the system notification dings. You've swiped the sword telekinesis skill and unlocked the metal synergy effect. Absolutely losing his mind, the Swordmaster shrieks, "This ain't over. I'll get you for this, Kang." But our boy just grins and gives him a big ol' thank you, even saying he can't wait to see what skill he'll borrow next. And with that perfect burn, the scene cuts. We fade into what feels like a dream sequence. A single mask clatters to the floor, and Kang is hit with a vision he's seen 1,000 times. The system's voice echoes, speaking of a boy with countless faces and endless talents, as Kang stands there, his usual smirk gone. The voice drones on, posing the ultimate question: does he want to be a hero? As he stoops to pick up the fallen mask, Kang mutters that this nightmare always pops up around this time of year, and his answer never changes. Then, because of course, a super creepy clown materializes out of thin air, cackling like a maniac. "You could be the greatest hero of them all," it sneers. "But let's be real, they'll never let you in their little club. You're destined to be nothing more than a meme." With a grin that could curdle milk, the clown declares him the punchline of a cosmic joke. Totally unfazed, Kang just slaps on the mask, and boom, the contract with the Monarch of Masks is sealed. And just like that, our boy is jolted awake by the sound of his phone screaming at him. As if that's not enough, someone starts pounding on his door, yelling that they know he's home. Scrubbing the sleep from his eyes, Kang groans about having that same crappy dream again and wonders who the heck is bothering him this early. Putting on his best customer service smile, Kang swings the door open and chirps, well, look what the cat dragged in. What brings you to my humble abode?" The guy just scoffs. "Seriously? Is that any way to greet me now? Just 'cause you're a big shot now?" And this friendly face belongs to none other than Hazak Park. He's a rank 30 player under contract with the Monarch of Assassins, known on the streets as the Hitman. By day, he's a department chief at the National Intelligence Agency, a little organization that reports directly to the Blue House. Kang, ever the charmer, asks if he's getting bored of the same old grind in the game. Park forces a smile and says he wishes he had time for games these days. With a slight tremble in his voice, he explains he's been swamped, dealing with a bunch of warmongering morons who are using players like pawns in their twisted little power games. Kang gives him a mock salute, thanking him for his service. Park just rolls his eyes and asks why he wasn't picking up his phone. Kang's excuse? "I was sleeping." Then, out of nowhere, Park eats it, tripping over a mountain of junk in Kang's apartment. He looks around in disgust and goes, "You actually live like this? Whoa. You'd think the so-called hero king would live in a palace. Not this." Kang, looking absolutely thrilled, grumbles that he despises that nickname while literally picking up trash. Naturally, Park trolls him, saying his place gives Shrek's swamp a run for its money. He then goes into full-on lecture mode, nagging him that if he keeps mainlining all this canned grub, he's gonna end up taking a dirt nap. Kang, completely over it, snaps back asking what's so wrong with his five-star cuisine, gesturing to his glorious stockpile of preserved delicacies. Like a nagging old man, Park just flops onto the bed and demands he cook up 2 of the big cans. And boom, flashback time to how our boy first met Mr. Park. Kang's locked in, laser-focused on some online game, looking exactly like me grinding Fortnite back in 2019. A true degenerate. He snags the win, and the random guy behind him is absolutely stunned. The dude's already whipping out his phone, probably to tell his mom that he just witnessed someone beat the unbeatable game. Everyone else is just bug-eyed and sweating bullets, wondering if this kid really just pulled it off. And that's when Mr. Park makes his grand entrance. He strolls up asking if there's any game Kang can't conquer, clearly thinking he's just stumbled upon the second coming of gaming Christ. Acting like a top-tier esports manager on the hunt, he immediately slides up to Kang and pops the question, "Ever thought about going pro?" Kang, looking totally baffled, just says gaming is a hobby. Next thing you know, we see Mr. Park giving Kang's parents the sales pitch of a lifetime, convincing them to let him drop out of school to game for a living, just like my plan for Fortnite in 2019. Tragic, really. Snorts. But don't get it twisted. Mr. Park wasn't some no-name scrub. He was there, burning the midnight oil, helping Kang hone his god-tier skills. However, on the very day Kang was set to make his professional debut, the universe decided to drop a patch. Season 1 of the Apocalypse went live, and the tower breaks crashed the server. And that's pretty much how the world went to heck. We see our boy eat dirt as something absolutely massive barrels toward him. A monster the size of a building appears, looking ready to make him its next meal. But guess who shows up for the clutch save? Mr. Park, sinking his dagger right into the skull of that off-brand lizard. Park asks him if he's alright, but our hero is already screaming for his mommy at the top of his lungs. Kang is just on his knees, bawling his eyes out for his parents. But on that terrible day, the same day he lost them, he also found his hero. Flashing back to the present, Kang asks, "Alright, spill it. Why are you here?" Mr. Park just smirks, "I'm here on official business from the association." On to the next chapter. It's 4:55 in the morning at the Player Graduation Academy. A bunch of cadets are getting absolutely wrecked by a training simulation. One of them spots the Hero King watching from the sidelines, and nervously mentions he heard Kang is their final examiner. He's basically praying he won't have to throw down with the legend himself to graduate. Another student just laughs, saying, "Yeah, right, like that would ever happen," bragging about how they've already got graduation in the bag. The guy adds, "Seriously, who does Kang think he is, dragging us out here at 5 in the morning? He's just a player, same as us." Meanwhile, Kang's just chilling outside, eavesdropping, when some staffer sidles up to him and goes, "So, what's the verdict? We've totally revamped our training to be way more structured." Our boy Kang fires back, asking if these brats have been getting carried since day 1. You know, where some high-level player babysits a bunch of noobs through towers so they can hoover up all the rewards. The dude just laughs nervously and sputters out, "It's, a real honor to have you, Mr. Kang, personally evaluating our academy's cream of the crop." Kang doesn't even bother replying. He just strolls forward, his combat gear materializing as he draws his sword. He declares, "The deal's the same. I'm here to test their actual skills, not their report cards. Whether they graduate or not is completely up to me." And just like that, the students all freeze up. Showtime. President Sono gives the okay, even though he thinks Kang is the most arrogant punk he's ever met. But hey, he's still pretty sure his precious students are ready for this. Especially this early in the season. He's even betting they'll give the so-called Hero King a run for his money. Yeah, about that. When he sees what's actually going down, the guy is completely floored. One by one, the students are getting absolutely dismantled. No mercy. Kang just steamrolls through them, slapping each one with a "you failed" next. Then, one girl just collapses, sobbing her eyes out, totally convinced she's toast too. But Kang just goes, "You passed." Baffled, she stammers out, "Wait, how?" Kang hits her with the ultimate troll. "You got lucky. You lasted longer than the other 12 schmucks. and he tells her to never forget that, for a player, luck is everything. And with that, he yells, "All right, that's a wrap, people. Kill the cameras." Congratulations to the very first graduate of the Player Academy. Still completely stunned, the girl is just frozen on the floor, whispering, "Cameras? What is he talking about? Cameras?" Right on cue, the president and a whole posse of organizers bust through the door, looking absolutely livid. He's fuming. "We asked you to evaluate the students, not." But Kang cuts him right off. "Do I look like an idiot to you?" he shoots back. "These kids are all the spoiled brats of your executives. You were just using me to test your little pet projects and collect some data, and you hired a bunch of meathead rankers to carry them, so they'd grow up to be your association's little puppets." Kang just smirks, adding that he's not holding his breath for the association's future if this is the best they can cough up. Absolutely seething, the president is on the verge of losing it, screaming, "You don't know a single damn thing about how the real world works. Stay in your lane. You really think you're some kind of hero just because people call you that?" He rants on, insisting that players are nothing more than disposable weapons used by the government, and not just in Korea, but all over the planet. All for the sake of national security. With a deranged glint in his eye, the president argues that what the world truly needs are war heroes. He claims Kang must cooperate with them for the good of the nation, basically getting on his knees and begging. Pfft, Kang knows they just want to use players as cannon fodder. And since they called him arrogant, he decides it's time to school these fools. The president keeps trying to plead his case, but a staffer suddenly bursts in, yelling, "We have a huge problem." The president looks at the tablet, and his face goes completely white. Kang, smirking, says, "Well now, it looks like the academy is about to go out of business." The president demands to know how a video of the students could have possibly been leaked. Our hero replies, "Did you forget I've got the intelligence department wrapped around my little finger?" The comments on that leaked video are a total train wreck. No one with any self-respect would ever sign up for that place again. The president is trembling like a leaf in a hurricane, completely and utterly shell-shocked. Kang just says he did what needed to be done. The system pings with a notification. His provocation level has increased, and the Monarch of Masks is thoroughly impressed. Kang snags a gift box as a reward. Wasting no time, he exits the building and runs right into Mr. Park, who thanks him, but then asks, "Are you sure it's wise for the intelligence agency to take a risk that big? Won't you get in trouble for leaking the video?" Mr. Park explains that the government was already sick of the association's nonsense. This was hardly the first time they've butted heads. Kang says, "That's a relief. Say, since you're here, how about you give me a ride to the tower?" Mr. Park asks, "Which one?" And Kang casually replies, "The level 5 tower." The moment they arrive, the system instantly flashes the mission coordinates on his screen. The objective is to escort a caravan and make sure its payload reaches the destination safely. Kang waves goodbye to Mr. Park, and bam, he's standing in the Oasis Desert. A group of warriors is getting absolutely thrashed by some vicious monsters and is on the brink of being wiped out when Kang shows up. You know, to save the day. Just another Tuesday in the realm of towers. You know how players always show up in the nick of time, right when things look their bleakest? That's how they become legends, seen as saviors, dropping in at the perfect moment. And right on cue, Kang unleashes a storm of blades, instantly shredding the creatures and wiping every last one of them out. Then, trying way too hard to look cool, he strolls over to the warriors and drops a one-liner. "Guess who's here?" But all he gets back are blank, confused stares. So, he tries again. A visiting player, one of them, an apostle, says, "You can call on me anytime." Suddenly, the warriors erupt in cheers, shouting, "The God of Light is truly watching over us. He sent us protection." Kang just thinks to himself, "God of Light, huh? I've got a really bad feeling about this." He then asks, "So, are there any other threats in this desert besides these freaks?" One of the warriors puffs out his chest and says, "We are in the territory of the Divine Kingdom. The presence of a few heretics is no big deal. Besides, we're not far from our destination. It's just a 3-day journey." Inwardly groaning, Kang mutters, 3 days? Man, I really should have taken that nap. A warrior overhears and asks if something is wrong. But seeing more monsters on the horizon, Kang quickly switches gears. "Nah, don't worry about it. You guys go get some rest. As long as I'm here, you're all perfectly safe." He then casually adds that he'll take the night watch. The warriors thank him profusely, calling him their apostle of light. Kang just equips the vitality necklace, which gives his regeneration rate a ridiculously massive boost while he's wearing it. A system notification reminds him that he still hasn't opened that gift box. Finally, remembering it, He pops it open manually and scores an advanced growth stone. A smug grin spreads across our protagonist's face as he says, "Finally, something I can actually use." He glances back at the approaching horde and casually pockets the stone, knowing he won't even need a power-up for this joke of a fight. In the next moment, he summons his little cat, Noah, with a simple command. It's dinner time, but he immediately realizes he can't just dump all the work on his pet. Drawing every single one of his blades, he unleashes them all at once, carving through endless waves of scorpion-like monsters. Kang thinks to himself, "These blades move exactly as I command them. This is one heck of a skill." Just then, his sword telekinesis assist ability levels up. He figures the fight is over, right before the entire desert begins to tremble. A colossal sand devourer erupts from beneath the dunes. A smirk plays on Kang's lips as he says, "I knew something like this was coming. So much for getting any sleep tonight." But before he can even lift a finger, Noah appears with a completely unhinged look in his eyes and telekinetically slams the massive beast into the ground. Kang then finishes it off in less than a second, and just like that, his skills got another boost. Ding! Telekinesis and Iceblade materialization unlocked. So, the merry band of travelers keeps on trekking through the endless desert. Kang casually turns to the grunts and asks if they've got any actual knights with them. One of the guys pipes up, "Of course, we have brave knights who also serve the glorious god of light." Our boy, totally unimpressed, asks, "Oh yeah? And where exactly were these so-called brave knights last night when things got spicy?" The warrior sputters that their #1 priority is protecting the cargo. Kang, finding this highly suspicious, thinks to himself, "Right, even with monsters trying to eat them, the box is what matters most." He decides to poke the bear and asks, "So, what's their fancy club name?" The soldier puffs out his chest and says, "They are the Crimson Crossmates." A smirk spreads across Kang's face. Well, whatever's in that carriage must be worth a pretty penny then." The soldier's face instantly turns to stone. "That is absolutely none of your business. I suggest you stick to your divine purpose and leave the important stuff to us." It clicks for our boy then. Not only did they hire fancy knights who can use aura, but they also summoned times him asterisk, the supposed apostle of light. Yeah, this whole gig is way more of a headache than he signed up for. He leans in and tells the soldier, telling me to back off just makes me times more interested." One of the other warriors, who's clearly about to wet his pants from the tension, tries to de-escalate, saying there's no need for all this. And just like that, Kang yanks the guy close, throws up an ice shield, and yells, "We've got company, get down." It's those pesky heretics, raining arrows down on them from horseback. Seriously? How are these clowns even getting into supposedly sacred territory? They're just using cheap hit-and-run tactics. "Let's see how the brave knights deal with this one," Kang mutters, grabbing his popcorn. The knights start barking orders. "Protect the carriage. Whatever you do, protect the carriage. Hold the formation and get the aura shield up." Meanwhile, some poor merchant gets turned into a pincushion by an arrow, and Kang sees the knights don't even blink. Guess human lives are less important than the box. Asterisk, ping, asterisk. The system chimes in with a helpful reminder. Mission objective: ensure the caravan reaches its destination safely. After a dramatic pause for effect, Kang sighs and steps up. He slams his sword into the sand, unleashing a torrent of shadow power. With a single epic leap, he's about to absolutely wreck a heretic. Until he gets a closer look and realizes they're actually desert elves. Well, this is awkward. And we're back. Kang's spidey senses start tingling, and he throws up his shield just in time for an attack, only for the arrow to punch right through it. He instantly figures it out. These guys are packing aura, too. An elf comes charging in, screaming, "Die, you defiler." Kang easily parries the attack, and a little factoid pops into his head. These elves serve a very particular monarch. Shoving his sword against the elf's throat, he practically growls, "Spill it. What's in the carriage?" The elf, grinding his teeth, calls him a lowlife and swears he's not saying a damn thing. Then the absolute madman screams for his pals to light our hero up, telling them not to even worry about him becoming a kebab. Without a second thought, the NPCs let a volley of arrows fly. But our boy is just built different. He pops his shield and deflects every single one like it's nothing. The elf is now sweating buckets but still refuses to snitch. Kang presses him again, saying all he wants to know is what's in the big wooden box on wheels. Then he adds with a stone-cold voice, "If you're gonna make my life difficult, I'll just have to unalive your little buddies." The elf's face turns to stone as one of his comrades gets an icicle straight to the eyeball. And he wasn't the only one. All of them get absolutely bodied by Kang's overwhelming power. Feeling like a total Chad, he says, "I'm gonna ask you one last time. What are you hauling in that carriage?" Pinned and totally screwed, the elf spits out, "How dare you? That's Princess Syria." With a smirk, Kang muses, "Oh, so the heretics are kidnapping their own princess now, are they? Interesting. I'll let you extras scurry off this time." The elf, still completely shell-shocked, tries to say something, but Kang just talks right over him. "Don't you think you should probably bounce while your heads are still attached? That way you can come back and try to off me later." The elf just stands there for a beat, then scrambles away with his fellow jobbers. A few moments later, some soldier comes sprinting up to Kang, yelling his name and asking, "Why in the world did you let those pointy ears escape?" Spreading his arms wide, Kang just says, "Hold up, just gotta poke something real quick." The poor soldier is hot on his tail, screaming for him to pump the brakes. In the next scene, Kang strolls up to a guard at a door and tells him to take a hike. The guard, shaking like a leaf, stammers that he has no orders to let him pass. Going full Sung Jin Woo, Kang summons his demonic shadow cat and says, "You should probably move while I'm still being polite." He slaps his hands on the door, shoves it open, and asks, "So, you want me to save you or what?" And here we go again, folks. It's another one of those scenes that's gonna get this channel in trouble. This is Princess Syria of the Kingdom of Ayab. She's absolutely fuming, yelling that she'd never be rescued by a heretic like him. Then, the little system window chimes in with a reminder, asterisk, "Hey, don't forget why you're here." Asterisk. The Monarch of Light is warning the player about his little side quest, but Kang couldn't care less about any of it. Without a second thought, he whips out his blade, giving it a slick twirl, and in one clean motion, severs everything, freeing the princess from her chains. But then, the system chimes in with a warning, "You've unlocked a secret mission. Save the princess and earn 300,000 achievement points." Just then, his vision gets flooded with a bunch of system pop-ups, announcing a surprise patch for the tower. Forget level 5. It's now cranked up to level 5. Ultra hard mode. A smirk plays on his lips as he mutters, "What a trash game." Still, he has to admit, they get points for creativity. All of a sudden, a host of angels descends from the heavens, and the Monarch of Light booms that Kang will pay dearly for defying their glorious glow. Turns out, these winged fellas are the Light Watchers, the personal goons of the Monarch of Light. The system helpfully explains that their sight covers any place the light touches, and they absolutely despise the dark. The soldiers on the ground erupt in cheers, yelling that the saviors of light are here and ordering them to wipe out anyone who stands against it, which, surprise surprise, includes our boy Kang. Our guy's jaw just about unhinges. Seriously? They get a little backup and suddenly they've got all this swagger? He grumbles under his breath. The princess, meanwhile, is practically dripping with nervous sweat and asks him what his plan is. Flashing a cocky grin, he tells her not to even sweat it. 'Cause guess what? He called in his own backup. Our hero starts weaving a dark spell, and a new notification pops up. The Monarch of Shadows has given him the green light. Just like that, he gets the Shadow Mantle buff. The soldiers immediately start freaking out, screaming that they've gone blind. Then, a wicked voice echoes through the void. "Drape the world in our shroud." A massive grin spreads across Kang's face. Called it. The loot is way juicier in this mode. And so, the all-you-can-slice buffet officially begins. Soldiers get turned into human confetti, red paint flying everywhere, while the angels just stand there, completely frozen, totally clueless about what the heck is going on. One of them finally shrieks, "Let there be light," unleashing a blinding flash. The others try to copy him, pulling off the same move. But nothing. A vortex of pure darkness swallows the angels whole, leaving them completely spun out. And then, shing, one of them gets split right down the middle. The remaining angels can't believe their eyes, stammering about how any of this is even possible. And there's our guy, carving them up like holiday turkeys, spinning and flipping like a gymnast on a sugar rush. The moment he sticks the landing, the system dings. The Light Watchers have officially flipped their aggro switch to permanent kill on sight. But thanks to his shadows, Kang is just farming points and getting juicy darkness power-ups. He's smiling like the cat that got the canary, and says, "That's one down." Using a fallen angel as a doormat, he mutters, "Ah, much better view now." And just then, a wild notification sound appears. The system is letting him know that multiple factions have started spectating his little rampage. He's going viral. Alright, quick lore dump. The story explains the difference between the realm of towers and the worlds, times inside, times the towers. For example, those knights or desert elves you meet, they're basically NPCs living in a world that's just one floor of the tower. But here's the kicker. The monarchs and their crews are the big shot admins from the top floor, the realm of towers itself. Players are basically the middlemen connecting these two dimensions. So when a major faction shows up inside a tower's world, it's like a server admin logging into a specific game world to mess with things. But get this, players aren't just mindless puppets dancing to some monarch's tune. I mean, sure, we've seen the Light Monarchs fan club who follow orders without a single thought, or that elf who is hard-coded for a princess escort quest. But if players actually use their brains and look past the quest markers, they'll find a whole universe of choices. Take our boy Kang, for instance. Since Kang basically told the Light faction to take a hike and sided with the Shadows are now showering him with even more OP buffs. Because, hey, not even the big boss monarchs can cheat the system's rules. Anyway, back to the action. Our boy glances at the sky, doing a quick head count. 5 left. Just then, another angel warps in, rocking 2 ginormous glowing orbs. And yeah, no clue how I missed that detail until now. My bad, folks. This angel starts charging up a massive spell, screaming some fancy name like Insulin, you fool, and unleashes the attack, trying to rescue the poor grunts stuck in the shadows. More holy lasers start raining down, but Kang doesn't even bat an eye. He's just like, no matter how badly the Light Watchers want my head on a pike, this is a level 5 tower. The most OP angel they can summon in here is capped at rank 9. Them's the rules of the tower. And these angels, who are honestly drawn better than half the female characters in this manhwa, are just screaming in rage. Let the light purge the darkness. All of them, or maybe both of them, since who even knows what's going on there, unleash their holy beams right on top of the soldiers. You've got this one poor dude just standing there with the buffering icon over his head, totally confused. They just got wrecked by the shadows, and now they're getting a free of charge holy zapping from their own side. Talk about a bad day. Oh, you poor thing. Cracking a smile, our hero quips, looks like they couldn't care less what happens to their fan club. Thinking back to the last throwdown, he adds that payback is a real piece of work. Our guy figures that maybe, just for a second, they can actually shine a little light in this gloomy dump. And with that thought, he pops his Shadow Mantle and makes a beeline straight for the angels, yelling, "You really shouldn't have slept on me." He blitzes right through their holy laser show, and smack in the middle of the light and shadow rave, the princess is frozen stiff with fear. Then, out of nowhere, she lets out a gasp as Kang swoops in, scooping her up like a damsel in distress. He gently places her back on solid ground and whistles for his shadow cat. Kang then whips out a sparkly pink crystal, announcing, "This little guy will be your bodyguard while I'm busy." It's a grove stone, by the way. He shatters the crystal, channeling all its juice directly into his shadowy feline. The princess is still processing all this, letting out a shriek as heavenly death rays start pouring down on them. But just then, the cat goes full kaiju, ballooning to a size that'd make a skyscraper look short. She squeezes her eyes shut, ready for the end. But our favorite fluffball totally stonewalls the angel's attack. The two of them go at it for a bit, a cosmic light show of darkness versus holy power, until Kang gives his pet a nod. Thanks for holding him off. One of the angels just scoffs, calling him some pathetic mortal who's way out of his league. Meanwhile, Kang is already charging headfirst into the angelic posse. One of them pulls a sword and parries his attack, kicking off an insane sword fight with sparks flying from every angle. While they're trading hits, Kang grumbles to himself that his thorns are about to give out, so he's got to wrap this up quick. Suddenly, something catches his eye. At the very last second, he whips his sword up, deflecting a surprise attack. He weaves out of the way of another one, wondering how in the world they're so zippy, even with all the debuffs he slapped on them. He decides it's time for a tactical retreat, dropping down while batting away their strikes. But then blood sprays, as one of the angels finally tags him. He slides back, cursing under his breath. Damn, those wings are a real pain in the butt. Guess I'll have to ground them permanently with one big hit. He starts winding up for a massive spell, but these winged jerks are way too fast. A beam of light lances down, blasting the absolute center of his summoning circle. Kang starts sweating bullets, and then bam. Something slams him right in the chest. He grinds his teeth, bracing for the agony, but it's not a lightning bolt. It's an angel. With a spear runs straight through him. His swords clatter to the ground, as one of the angels roars in triumph. Alright boys, this is it. Let's slice and dice this clown. But our boy Kang just smirks, and bam! The screen lights up like a Christmas tree with dozens of system notifications. It's Buff City, population, him. That nasty spear in his chest just poofs into thin air. The angels freeze mid-swing, probably thinking their holy software just crashed. One of the feathery fellas is like, guys? Something ain't right. And that's the cue for the beat to drop. So long, angels. A literal storm of swords rips through the sky, raining down pure, unadulterated pain as the angel apocalypse kicks off. He casually pops a buff that jacks up his fatal damage by a cool 50%. You know, for good measure. With a wicked grin, he's like, alright, playtime's over. Cut to the next scene, and it's just angels getting blended from every conceivable angle. The last surviving chicken tries to make a run for it, but our hero ain't having any of that. He summons a great sword the size of a bus and yeets it, turning that angel into a lawn dart. And just like that, the battle is over. He even gets a sweet ding and 3 new levels for his trouble. As he's taking a victory stroll through the carnage, he suddenly stops, like he forgot to take the trash out. He glances over to the side and sees the fallen soldiers. But then, something brushes against his leg. It's his trusty shadow cat, just having a nice, lazy stretch. If you're on Team Kitty, smash that like button so I know who the real ones are. Just then, the princess walks up, calling out his name. She's all like, why did you go through all this trouble for me? You even betrayed your own kind. And, like the stone-cold capitalist he is, he deadpans, for the loot, obviously. But she's not buying it, and presses on, saying, but they were human, just like you. Are you just gonna hold me for ransom or something? Our boy just keeps stroking his cat and says, to be perfectly honest, I'm not a huge fan of my own species. Then he kinda apologizes and tells her she's asking some really weird questions. She's just left there with this total lost puppy look on her face while he continues to calmly pet his cat, not a care in the world. Fast forward a few days, and they finally make it to the border of the AU kingdom. Suddenly, the princess is all sunshine and rainbows, thanking him with a massive, genuine smile. But my man is laser-focused on one thing, the payday. He's like, yeah, but am I getting my rewards? She assures him he will. Right on cue, she holds out her hand and says she has a little something extra for him. He takes it, and the system goes wild, announcing he's conquered the Tower of the Deserted Wasteland and got some accessory with no description, featuring nothing but 3 big ol' question marks. Understandably baffled, he's like, the heck is this? And just then, he gets zapped into some kind of void. The system chimes in, explaining, it's an emblem of trust from Princess Syria. Its purpose is currently a total mystery, but it might come in handy down the road. You know, classic plot device stuff. And the scene cuts to what looks like our guy, just chilling on a train, heading off to who knows where. 4 hours earlier, Mr. Park had basically told him to get his butt over to Busan. Kang, being the sharp tool he is, asked if something was already going down, but Mr. Park's like, nah, not yet, but the party's about to start. And just like that, we get the 411 on some player named Nat Asha Ivanova, a world-class criminal who's a major pain in the neck. She's classified as a black hat player to stay off the radar of the Russian authorities. Ivanova slipped into Korea through the ports of Busan and immediately started tearing through the city's towers with her 4-person goon squad. The rumor mill says she's rocking the legendary skill card, Shadow Mantle. The moment Kang steps off the train, his phone starts buzzing. It's Mr. Park, who cracks a joke asking how the trip to Busan went. Run into any zombies on the way there? Kang, completely unamused, shoots back, I know you're spying on me. Just cut the crap and send a car already. Mr. Park then tells him they've got intel on the tower. Ivanova and her team are holed up inside. Kang asks, what's the difficulty level? Mr. Park replies, level 5. The scene jumps to Kang, showing up on site and strolling into the tower. With a grimace, he mutters, I knew a level 5 tower would be some kind of crazy jungle. And then the system chimes in with a warning. Survive against the hungry infected. And then, as if on cue, the single ugliest zombie he's ever seen in a manhwa stumbles into view. Kang raises his sword and says, is that thing really supposed to be a zombie? But just as he's about to swing, he pauses, wondering why Norah picked now to show up. Apparently, his cat was feeling peckish. The sneaky furball is literally drooling while eyeing the zombie. You almost have to feel bad for the zombie. It makes a lunge for the cat, but suddenly, a massive shadow whale materializes and just deletes it from existence. Kang's face absolutely lights up. Whoa, he got way stronger after snacking on that growth stone. But seriously, why a whale? Still, you gotta admit, it's a pretty awesome sight, glowing like Goku in his Super Saiyan form. Then, someone starts clapping slowly. A voice says, "I've been waiting for you." She continues, "I knew it. There's no way the Hero King would let a little old villain like me run around unchecked." And there she is, the infamous Natasha Ivanova. They have an intense stare down for a moment before Kang breaks the silence. As a big shot in the Red Mafia, you became a wanted criminal back in Russia, so you and your crew snuck into Korea through Busan. Covering her mouth with her hand, she asks if he's actually there to put her in cuffs. Drawing his swords, Kang gives her his answer without saying a word. "You know, I'll never understand why people like you insist on underestimating me. Guess Russian intelligence didn't get the memo about how awesome I am." Then he zips forward, aiming his blade square at Natasha, and taunts. "So, these little friends of yours, they're also from Russian intel, right? What was the plan? Capture me and use me as zombie bait." She casually steps back, pointing out that even after knowing her true identity, he still had the gall to waltz into this tower. He just smirks right back, replying, "You honestly think I came here for a funeral? Mine?" He then starts conjuring his signature sword storm, announcing it's the only way he's gonna swipe that legendary skill she's hoarding. But the redhead just dances backward, effortlessly dodging every single blade and shouting that she knew it all along. Then she bellows, "Light him up!" And our boy has to pull off a last-second dive to stay in one piece. Still, her trigger-happy squad keeps spraying bullets like there's a clearance sale on ammo. But Kang is a freaking ghost, weaving through the bullet hell in full-on Matrix style. He closes the distance to Natasha, ready to deliver a clean, decisive slash. But with a wicked grin, she turns, ducks under the swing, and flips him the bird, totally mocking him. He's just frozen in disbelief. His sword smashes into the floor, and he's left wondering where in the world she just teleported to. While deflecting bullets, he takes a quick inventory of the enemy's gear: 3 assault rifles and 1 sniper. He leaps into a mid-air twist, dodging yet another volley, figuring that first sniper shot was probably just a fluke. But after he blocks a second one, he realizes something is way off. Because, with his Shadow Mantle active, he should be completely invisible to these clowns. A confused smirk plays on his lips as he mutters, "Then how in the hell are these goons seeing me?" And that's when our favorite shadow cat, Norah, makes his grand appearance. Kang shoots him a look and says he's gonna need a little backup. The cat mews with delight, all geared up for some action. One of the women yells, "We can't get through the ice shields. We need a new plan." But, a little too late for that. Kang is already right behind them. Blood splatters everywhere as his shadow thorns erupt from the ground, skewering everything in their path. Norah definitely isn't messing around. He nearly bags another one himself, but the guy barely manages to block it with his rifle at the very last instant. A wounded blonde screams at her team to stay away from the cat's shadows. Arms crossed, Kang just grins. "Oh, so, you guys can see Norah's shadows too? Now that's a fun little surprise." Just as he's about to run his mouth some more, a cold blade presses against his throat. Natasha reappears, whispering a warning for him not to move a muscle. She probably thinks he'll beg for his life if he just plays along. But Kang? He just flashes a cheeky grin. He's like, "You talk a big game for someone who can't even touch me." Brimming with confidence, she fires back, "Don't you dare underestimate our intelligence. Those achievement points you snagged in the level 5 tower were ridiculously high, and since then, you've just been slumming it in the low-level towers. You pulled the exact same stunt last season, right after popping your survival ability." She then has the nerve to order him to ditch the cat. Meanwhile, speaking of the cat, Morris is having the time of his life, gleefully yeeting shadow spikes everywhere as soldiers scream in agony. Kang tightens his grip on his dagger, a smirk playing on his lips, and asks, "So, how exactly are you planning to kill me when I'm not even the real deal?" And just like that, she short-circuits, completely frozen in confusion. Before she can even process that bombshell, 3 swords are already kissing her neck. "Checkmate, lady," he says. "I knew from the start this whole Shadow Mantle thing was a crock. Just a shiny lure to reel me in, wasn't it?" He then adds, "But hey, since my senses times were times actually getting scrambled, that can only point to one thing. The legendary illusion ability, the one that messes with your eyeballs and your brain." Her sword clatters to the ground and poofs into dust as Kang casually activates a gravity skill. Itasha's body gets slammed into the floor like a ragdoll, with Kang standing over her like the final boss. He leans in, saying, "It's not that easy to pull one over on someone. You know." Gonna have to try a little harder than that. She squeezes her eyes shut in total defeat, and he just keeps twisting the knife, telling her she's about to be on the zombie menu. Oof, savage. Poor woman. A system notification pops up, player eliminated. But just then, Kang spots something off. His sword stopped a hair's breadth from finishing the job, and a new alert flashes on the system screen. Multiple survivors detected. And what do you know? A freaking massive drone just appeared overhead, announcing that all survivors in Zone B16 are scheduled for immediate deletion. Some bald soldier looks up to see a whole squad of robots descending from the sky, chanting in perfect unison, "Eliminate, eliminate." The guy slings his weapon over his shoulder and just bolts. But then, out of nowhere, a giant, Megazord-looking monstrosity shows up, wielding a cannon the size of a bus, and announces, "Initiating confidentiality control protocol." And boom! A massive explosion rips through the area, and we see the player who was supposedly Times, just killed. Kang's face turns dead serious, thinking, are my shields even gonna make a dent in that? But then a blazing red beam slices through the chaos, barreling straight for him and Natasha. He throws his arms up in a cross, trying to brace for the impact. And then, from absolutely nowhere, a massive clock begins to chime, and Natasha is just frozen stiff. Then some shady figure pops up, saying, "Man, what a total waste. Looks like a couple of schmucks bit the dust without even cashing in their points. It's that money-grubbing little shop elf from before," and he points a finger, shouting, "This is all on you, buddy." The absolute madman just cracks a smirk and gives the most half-baked apology you've ever seen. For real, if you can find someone more obsessed with points than this elf, I'll eat my hat. Staying true to his inner CEO, he goes, "Buy a card pack, and we'll call it even." Kang is just standing there, absolutely losing it, looking like he's about 2 seconds away from giving him the bird. Then the little goblin points over at Natasha, who's just sprawled on the floor in a puddle of despair, and says, "Maybe try pitching to that sad sack over there." He then yells across the room, "Hey, broke-looking lady, you're sitting on the second biggest pile of points in this joint. Wanna blow 'em all before you kick the bucket?" Man, poor Natasha is on death's door, and now she's getting roasted by the king of capitalism. The elf just keeps piling it on, saying, "Look, you've got zero chance of making it out of this alive, but hey, if you buy a pack and snag a mythical card, your odds might get a teensy bit better." She's just giving him this dead-eyed stare, completely baffled, and probably thinking, who in their right mind would buy anything from this cocky little jerk? Then he pivots to Kang, trying to get him to buy one, too. Kang just lets out a laugh like, "You're actually nuts. It's the only thing on your mind, isn't it?" But he stops dead in his tracks when Natasha suddenly shrieks that she's about to dump all 374,000 of her points into random card packs. Cut to the next scene, and Kang looks like he'd rather be watching paint dry as she starts cracking open packs. She gets started and shocking absolutely no one. It's just an endless parade of common tier trash. Natasha's grinding her teeth and sweating buckets while our little capitalist cheerleader is egging her on, shouting, "Don't lose hope. That mythical is right around the corner." Meanwhile, she looks like she's about to chew her own fingers off from the sheer stress of it all. Kang just scoffs, muttering that pulling a mythical is like trying to find a needle in a continent-sized haystack. She's already ripped through almost 1,000 packs and declares this is the final one. "I'm not gonna lie, I'd hire this elf to be my life coach." The motivation is unreal. The shameless little hustler is screaming, "Don't you dare quit, you've still got 7 cards left. You're gonna pull through." What an inspiring con artist. At this point, the redhead is deep in prayer. "If I don't pull something good, I'm toast. Please, oh please, just give me a legendary, at least." But crickets. She just collapses to the floor, absolutely defeated and cursing the very ground she's on. And just when you thought it was over, guess who pops up again? The elf dangles a potion in her face, saying she's still got 4,000 points left to blow. The little gotcha goblin's hustle never sleeps. Kang just smirks, asking if their little soap opera has finally reached its season finale. I swear, I need to take marketing lessons from this pint-sized con artist. He even has the audacity to say, "You've officially burned through all your bad luck." Then he whips out a chest overflowing with golden cards and shoves it toward Kang, whispering, "Just buy one. I guarantee you'll hit the jackpot. Don't do it, my dude. That's a trap I've walked into more times than I can count. Get out while you still can." But our boy Kang, being the genius troll he is, just covers his mouth and goes, "Whoa. That sales pitch is savage, even by my standards." Meanwhile, the redhead is absolutely losing it, screaming at Kang, calling him a total scumbag, and demanding he go to hell but not before buying at least one pack. He just tells her she's getting exactly what she deserves. Although, to be fair, she kinda has a point, so he caves and buys one pack. The very first one, of course, is a common card, but hey, it's Ice Bolt again. The system prompts him about upgrading it to level 2. He thinks, well, at least that's better than pulling 10,000 useless comments just to summon Natasha. But before he can even get a word out, she's already all up in his personal space, hands wrapped around his neck, looking absolutely demonic while screaming at him to shut his mouth and not interrupt her. Completely bewildered, he turns to the elf like, what's her deal? But the sly little capitalist just brushes him off, saying, see you later, bye-bye now. Kang tries to yell for him to wait, but the little guy has already vanished. The redhead immediately goes back to cursing him out, unleashing a dictionary's worth of insults. But then, completely out of left field, a huge explosion rocks the area as new players enter the game, and it's those giant, Megazord wannabe robots, again, toting bazookas and looking ready to turn our duo into paste. Natasha gets distracted, glancing off to the side, and Kang shouts her name. She whips around, annoyed, asking what he wants now, and in that split second, a clean slash zips through the air, and her head is suddenly on a solo trip. Man, that was brutal. I did times not times see that one coming. I was actually shipping them, thinking they'd get over their issues, and maybe even become a thing. But nope, guess that's a wrap for our fiery redhead. Apparently, our boy Kang has a thing for making people lose their heads. He immediately charges one of the robots. Schwing! Another dome goes flying. 2 more bots leap right at him, but he's already powering up for a big one. He swings his weapon, unleashing a blast that just vaporizes the robots. But then, he picks up a new sound. A couple of the bots pull a fusion dance and blast a massive flamethrower his way. He sidesteps it like it's nothing and goes, hot damn, a pharma company is behind all this tech? Note to self, dump my life savings into their stock the second I get out of here. He starts cooking up what looks like a mini supernova, tosses it skyward, and yells, tough break fellas, looks like you've just been removed from my to-do list. Permanently. A flash freeze instantly encases the bots, right before a cataclysmic explosion erases the entire area from existence. Kang strolls out of the smoke, casually dusting off his cap, as a flood of reward notifications lights up the air around him. For the grand prize of conquering the zombie tower, he gets to pick one of the players who, didn't make it out. With a smirk, he says he knows exactly who he's picking. The system practically gives him a digital high five. He's just acquired the OS skill. The skill description says that when a tower is cleared, any player who got knocked out of the game gets a free respawn, but there's a catch. It only works on those who were taken out by another player. Kang glances over at them, thinking, looks like Norah was the one who sent those 2 packing. The memory of that L has gotta still sting, so there's 0 chance they're getting away. And speak of the devil, there she is. It's Natasha, back from the great beyond for round 2, looking like a lost puppy on all fours. You've gotta be kidding me. That's the second time we've had to write her obituary. This chick is as stubborn as a cockroach. Kang gives her a friendly little wave as she's crawling around, whimpering about why. Cool as a cucumber, he glances over his shoulder and says, why? You trying to get yourself put in cuffs? Then go dial 911 or turn yourself in at the local precinct. Honestly, not my problem. Absolutely savage, as usual. She just stares, completely bewildered, asking if he's seriously just letting her walk. He's like, yep, but on one condition. You gotta go tell all your buddies how awesome I am, which just completely shatters what's left of her will to live. Kang adds, see, folks who've been permanently deleted can't spread rumors, so I need you to stay breathing to be my personal hype man. And in the very next scene, somebody on the phone is demanding to know why he saved that girl. Taking a jab at the poor redhead, he says he was just paying her back for the legendary card, and that sweet, sweet, free card opening content. The guy on the other end just screams, you absolute moron. Why do you insist on saving the very people trying to put you in a coffin? But Kang just calmly replies that he's not some kind of violent maniac. He claims he prefers a more diplomatic approach. Gritting his teeth so hard they might crack, Mr. Park just yells, real funny, smartass. What in the hell do you think those goons are trying to get from you? I mean, obviously, they're trying to off you, you absolute moron. He's just laying into him, like, for crying out loud, you're a total liability. Did I raise a son or a paperweight? But Kang, cool as a cucumber, just chimes in, that's a load of bull. Without his skills, that PC bang would have been a ghost town ages ago. Ignoring that, Mr. Park basically says none of that matters now. He just begs him to get back in one piece. With a little smirk, Kang replies, you got it. I'll be home before you know it. Appreciate you looking out for me. And just like that, we get some classic narration. You see, inside the towers, people call players all sorts of things. Player, visitor, apostle, you name it. And the outside world has just as many labels for them. They're called weapons, military power units, or my personal favorite, asymmetric biological assets. But let's be real, players aren't heroes. They're more like glorified soldiers. Just tools deployed to wipe out threats for whatever country owns their leash. Kinda like that Natasha Ivanova chick. Which gets our boy thinking, is that really all they see me as? Wondering if there are any actual heroes left in this day and age. And right on cue, some rando nearby blurts out, hold on, isn't that the Hero King? Kang immediately yanks his hood up, realizing he completely forgot to go incognito. The dude leans over to his girlfriend and hisses, hey, maybe stop pointing? If that's really him, we're toast. I heard he's got a seriously rotten personality. But like any top-tier waifu, she instantly jumps to his defense, claiming she heard he's actually a total sweetheart. He only acts like a jerk on camera because the reporters are a bunch of vultures. As they start to walk away, she adds, he's still the #1 hero, you know. We're only standing here because of him. If he hadn't stepped up, the world would have been toast back in Season 2. Plus, I heard a rumor that he secretly donates every single cent from his merch and action figures to charity. The boyfriend just shrugs. Alright, fine. I didn't know about the charity thing, but they're about to drop a mythical tier version of his t-shirt. So I'm pretty sure the guy's just a greedy cash grabber. Hearing all this, Kang cracks a tiny smile and breathes a sigh of relief. But the peace doesn't last, and soon enough, some reporter is screaming his name, trying to get a soundbite. Kang grumbles that a guy can't even take a peaceful stroll anymore, before launching himself into the air to get away. And the next thing you know, he's already chilling inside a level 5 dungeon called the Tower of Sword and Sorcery. He mutters to himself that he'd take a monster-infested tower over dealing with the paparazzi any day. Nearby, a squad of soldiers is gushing over some saint who apparently summoned a hero, which makes him tilt his head and think, saint? Who the heck are they talking about? And just like that, some blue-haired chick steps up. She's got this super pious smile plastered on, cooing. It's an honor to meet you, and thanking him for answering the interdimensional hero wanted ad. This lady is apparently Saint Elysius Aristina, the 37th Holy Maiden of the Holy State of Sarastina. Talk about a mouthful. Are you kidding me? I was hoping we'd finally get to the good part of the story, if you catch my drift. But since she's a saint, the fan service budget for this whole arc just totally tanked. Kang, being the absolute shameless dude he is, just flashes a grin that's practically dripping with greed. You can see the gears turning in his head as he calculates the quest rewards. He shakes her hand and lays it on thick. The pleasure is all mine. I shall lend you my sword and my services as a hero, he says, all bright and chipper. Without missing a beat, Kang then asks what kind of menial task she wants him to handle first. The saint, let's call her Elise, starts droning on about the history of the Philia continent, but he immediately cuts her off. Let me guess, it's the classic angels versus demons snooze fest, am I right? And her eyes just light up like a Christmas tree. Why yes, that's it exactly, she chirps, launching into the full, unskippable cutscene with way too much energy. In the beginning, there were celestials and demons, and a great war between light and darkness began. Yawn. The demons, who were supposed to stay locked up in the abyss, decided to crash the party in the world of light, and to kick them out, the celestials built a superweapon known as the Ark. However, those pesky demons were just relentless. Over a super long time, the seal holding them back started to get all flimsy, so the Ark has to be reactivated. To be honest, I was about 2 seconds away from mashing the skip button on this entire exposition dump. Couldn't take another second of lore. Thankfully, our boy stepped in before she could bore us all to death. 1 point for the protagonist. He just interrupts her. Alright, cool story. Let's go kill the demons and save the world now. She looks totally flustered, sputtering, but the story has only just begun. I wasn't finished with my speech. Kang just folds his arms, turns his back on her, and literally starts walking away. The sheer panic on her face is priceless. Where are you going? She yelps. He just grabs her by the arm and says, "Come on, let's just speed run this thing already." Completely desperate, the saint stammers that he can't, because he doesn't even know where the Ark is. He just cocks an eyebrow back at her. "And you do?" Awkwardly, she has to admit that, well, no, she doesn't. She's about to make another excuse when, right on cue, a gnarly red portal rips open and a demonic hand pokes through. The saint just stands there, frozen like a total buffoon, as some guy who looks like a knockoff summoned skull from Yu-Gi-Oh! Steps out. All the background cannon fodder, soldiers immediately charge forward, trying to look tough. They're all yelling generic lines like, "You're trash, a filthy demon unworthy of being here." Man, I was so ready to watch them all get wiped out in a single hit. But what do you know? They're actually putting up a decent fight against this demon, slashing with their swords and blasting holy laser beams all over the place. The demon just scoffs, "Impossible," then sticks out its tongue, taunting them like, "Your little holy powers are useless against me." It starts gathering some gnarly energy, and you hear someone scream for the whole squad to pull back, like, "Right now." But the saintess ain't having it. She steps up, dead set on helping our main man. Kang just casually raises a hand, all cool and collected, saying, "I got this. You guys just stay out of the splash zone." The demon lunges for the saintess, but Kang zips in, blocking the hit just in the nick of time. He turns to her. "You okay?" She just nods, her eyes turning into little hearts. Yep, she's completely smitten. Her internal monologue is probably screaming, "Oh my gosh, he totally just risked it all for us," as she clasps her hands together in awe. She starts praying to her goddess to save them all. And then, K-boom. The ice trapping the demon shatters into a million pieces. The saintess immediately panics, yelling for the hero and asking if he's hurt. Meanwhile, Kang's putting on his best the tragedy face, claiming the demon dropped a cryptic message before poofing away. He's all like, "The demons will reclaim the Ark. This world of light will be consumed by our eternal darkness." And apparently, it warned him to stay clear of whatever they're after. The saintess is sweating buckets over there, muttering about how absolutely screwed they are. Kang, ever the opportunist, declares there's no time to lose and immediately asks if she knows where this so-called Ark is. Alicia is totally floored, saying she had no idea the freaking apocalypse was knocking on their door. But, she says there's one place they can check out. And just like that, cut to the next scene. They're already on horseback, galloping like their lives depend on it. As they're riding, Kang casually glances over and says, "You were getting a little bored too, right? Not bad on the acting, by the way." And who pops up beside him but Norah, letting out a smug little meow. And surprise, surprise, the entire demon attack was a complete fabrication. All part of Kang's master plan to put the fear of God into the locals. He reminds Moore to tone down the flashy special effects so they don't blow their cover. Up ahead, the saintess asks if she should slow the pace. But Kang just tells her no, everything's going perfectly. He flashes a wicked grin and adds, "If you want to be efficient, you gotta play by your own rules." Now that's times how you properly use a legendary skill. Fast forward to the next chapter, and our crew rolls up to the Adventurers Guild. Kang mentions he heard they'll need a special item or something to get into the labyrinth. The blonde receptionist behind the counter confirms his suspicion, telling them they'll need an adventurer's license and to take a number. So, while they're stuck waiting, the saintess starts giving a little travel guide speech about how they're in the labyrinth city of Garcia. So, this place is basically the fantasy equivalent of a DMZ, stuck between the holy state of Sristina and the Draeger Empire. And get this, it's a city built around a giant, ancient underground dungeon just brimming with opportunities. Kang just laughs. Yeah, that's not a red flag at all. If they stash the Ark here, something is seriously sketchy. Just then, their number gets called like they're at the DMV, and the receptionist shoves a waiver in their faces. Our blissfully ignorant saint, bless her heart, immediately starts, signing her life away without a second glance. Luckily, Kang grabs her hand and is like, "Whoa there, hold your horses." He taps the fine print and reads the absolute bullcrap out loud. The guild waives all responsibility for any, unfortunate demises that happen inside the labyrinth. And any corpses or loot you leave behind automatically become property of the city. I have to agree to this insanity just to get a pass? The receptionist puts on her best strained, corporate smile and chirps, "Well, you see, the guild offers everyone and times equal opportunity times to get filthy rich in the labyrinth. But, you know, the adventuring lifestyle does come with a few occupational hazards. Risks that only the people who sign this liability waiver can face." And the saint just nods along like this is totally normal. Kang just deadpans that nothing makes you appreciate being alive, quite like a contract that says your corpse is a finder's keeper's situation. The receptionist wishes them a super safe journey. And with a hard cut, they're already dropping into the old murder dungeon. They hit the first floor, and Kang instantly whips out his sword, asking the saint if she's ready to rock. She gives him a firm nod. Suddenly, a whole horde of giant rats, looking like Twitch's entire extended family from League of Legends, charges right at him. He parries one and yells for the saint to do her thing. She unleashes a holy laser beam and pops a rat's head clean off. One down. Actually, scratch that. They're all down, because the very next panel, bam! They're on floor 5. Apparently, that went a little faster than planned. Yeah, no kidding. They offed one rat on screen and somehow power-leveled through 4 entire floors. 10 out of 10 pacing, my dude. Kang is strutting ahead like he owns the place, telling Blizia they blitz through because she's just that awesome. She gets all flustered and thanks him. Then she adds, though, some of those other adventurers were so helpful, clearing out the monsters for us. I was so grateful, especially since we were in such a rush. Our boy Kang just smirks to himself, thinking, yeah, I'm pretty sure they were just pissed we were kill-stealing in their favorite grinding spot. Meanwhile, this ray of sunshine, the saint is going on about how if everyone just supports each other, like adventurers do, the demons don't stand a chance, and Kang, playing it cool, just tells her not to sweat it. He's all set to snag this ancient superweapon for her when, out of nowhere, a bald, jacked-up dude pops out, greeting them with a smug grin, and says, "We heard you two waltzed into the labyrinth without paying the entrance fee. This place has owners, you know." The saint is looking completely clueless, so Kang breaks it down for her. "I don't know the local term for them, but you find these bottom feeders in every major dungeon. They usually go by labyrinth bandits or adventurer gankers." The bald guy snaps his fingers and goes, "You hit the nail on the head, pretty boy," then cuts right to the chase. "Now hand over all your loot." The saint, being the ultimate goody two-shoes, pleads, "Please, wait. We can solve this with a nice chat." Drowning in his usual sarcasm, Kang chimes in, "Oh, of course we can. Why don't you fellas hear our tragic backstory for a moment?" Then he starts spinning the exact same tale the saint tried to give him earlier. In the beginning, there were angels and demons, and now this world is on the verge of total destruction because of a demon invasion. I am a hero, summoned from another world to save everyone from certain doom, and to do that, I have to find the angel's ultimate weapon, the Ark. The bandits are just staring at him, with nothing but crickets chirping in their heads, having zero idea what he's on about. He keeps the act going, pointing to his partner, and she is the 37th saint of the holy state of Sarastina. "We're on a quest for the Ark together, so if you'd be so kind as to let us pass, that'd be super." The saint, all chipper, nods enthusiastically, adding, "That's right, we're trying to save the world." The bald leader absolutely loses it, bursting into laughter and asking his crew, "Do any of you have a single clue what these two lunatics are spouting?" One of the goons, trying not to crack up, says, "Nah, boss. They're just scared out of their minds and talking nonsense." Alicia looks completely floored, while Kang just deadpans. "Yeah, that's about the reaction I expected." The bald man just shrugs, "I don't care." And that, my friends, is when the limb removal service officially opened for business. Kang becomes a literal flash of light, zipping through the air and dicing up his enemies. One of the bandits is already screaming his lungs out, suddenly feeling a bit lighter without his arms. The bald guy tries to take a swing, but whoops, his hands have also gone on vacation. Someone else hurls an axe, but Kang just swats it aside like a fly. Then, a sharp female voice rings out, "Who dares lay a hand on my men? Looks like you're a lot stronger than you seem. Wait a minute, am I going crazy? Or isn't that the receptionist from the Adventurers Guild? Holy smokes, it really is her." The saint clocks her immediately, and Alicia's jaw just hits the floor, while Kang, cool as a cucumber, drops the bombshell that the guild and these bandits are in cahoots. Their whole racket is jumping newbies and shaking them down for a survival fee. And even if they're broke, their corpses are still worth a pretty penny. Our pure-hearted saint looks like she's about to be sick, completely unable to process what they're doing. The blonde baddie just smirks and scoffs. "Ha, she's way too green for this line of work. You almost had me going with that whole saint act. But no self-respecting saint would ever step foot in a dump like this. That's just how the cookie crumbles in the Labyrinth City." Then she lunges, swinging that massive axe right at them, yelling, "It's too late for mercy." But Kang parries it like it's nothing, flashes a cocky grin, and says, "Watch where you're swinging that thing, sweetheart." Her face goes from psycho to petrified as she whips around and sees Norah, our favorite murder floof, just tearing her buddies a new one. All you hear is a sick crunch, and then there's Norah, looking mighty satisfied with his little afternoon snack. Kang's just like, all right, path's clear. The Saint, meanwhile, is still completely shell-shocked, frozen for a few beats, before silently trailing behind him like a lost puppy. They trek on for a bit until they come across what looks like a freaking coliseum. Kang hops down, announcing they're making camp for the night, and will hit the road again in the morning. Apparently, our Saint is still mentally rebooting from that whole bandit buffet. Kang glances over at her and goes, "You've had that Grim Reaper look on your face ever since we ran into those chumps. This world isn't the fairy tale you pictured, is it?" With her head hung low, she replies, "The world is literally ending, and people are still bickering over cash. This is just another Tuesday for you, isn't it, hero?" And this totally reminds our boy of that psycho's little speech about how what this new world really needs is a good old-fashioned hero-on-hero brawl. He just replies, "It's more or less the same story in every world," and she nods, like she gets it. Alicia then asks, "So what's your world like?" Kang says, "My world's almost gone down the toilet more times than I can even count. We didn't have someone like you giving us a heads up about the apocalypse, so things went sideways, fast." She quickly apologizes, saying if it's a sore spot, he totally doesn't have to talk about it. He just chuckles, saying it's all good, and explains that everything was actually peachy until the third go-around. Then, at some point, people just started looking out for number one. The Saint asks, "And you? Did you get greedy too?" With a smug grin, our hero challenges her to take a wild guess. An awkward silence hangs in the air as she racks her brain before finally saying something. Though we're left completely in the dark because the speech bubble is totally blank. Real classy, author. But whatever she said, it clearly catches Kang off guard. He just busts out laughing, going, "That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." After a while, things get a little too peaceful for his liking. But then a glint of light snags his attention. A golden glow. And would you look at that? It's our favorite gotcha-loving merchant, the supreme capitalist himself, back with his shiny deck of temptations. A wicked grin spreads across Kang's face. Perfect. This is exactly what I've been waiting for since I dinged twice, he thinks. Then tells the merchant supreme, "All right, pal, show me the good stuff." And just like that, we flash forward a couple of days. And bam, they're already on the 100th floor, squaring off against some colossal winged serpent. The beast is screeching, "The Ark belongs to us, perish, hero," while summoning 2 Mondo-sized snakes to back it up. Meanwhile, our lovely Saint is in the backline, spamming buffs on our boy as a forest of gnarly purple spikes erupts from the floor. Without missing a beat, Kang lunges forward, bringing his blade down. In a flawless vertical slash that cleaves right through one of the giant summoned snakes and the floor boss itself. With its dying breath, the serpent boss hisses out, "My lord, forgive me. I have failed to protect the Ark." But our protag just casually waves it off. Yeah, don't let the door hit you on the way out." He lets out a heavy sigh, muttering about how wiped out he is. But right on cue, the system chimes in, showering him with a cool 10,000 points and a random special ability. He turns to the Saint with a smirk and says, "You gotta hand it to these demons, their timing is impeccable. Showing up right after we ace the test? How convenient." Elysia just nods in agreement, praising his performance. Suddenly, their banter is cut short by a green light glowing up ahead, causing her to gasp. It's the Ark. Kang strolls over, scoops it up, and remarks, "You know, for a legendary ancient relic, it looks surprisingly basic." The system immediately pings, "Acquired. Ark fragment." They both look up just in time to see the entire labyrinth start crumbling around them. A shimmering blue portal materializes, "Gotta be the exit, right?" She yells at him to hurry up. But just as they're about to bolt, a voice booms from the portal. "Your little adventure ends here, Saint Elysia. And you, hero." And out steps some smirking, blonde-haired soldier looking way too pleased with himself. "I must thank you. Your efforts were instrumental in helping the Empire locate the Ark, which, by the way, now belongs to us. Actually, on second thought, the Ark will be mine. So, hand it over." Smiling, Kang just tilts his head and says, "You know, I'm getting the feeling this guy isn't exactly on your team," the Saint replies. Meet Millie Drager, the Empire's #1 prince, grinning like he's completely lost his marbles. This nutjob offers to let them live if they play nice, but Alicia's having none of it. she fires back. Not happening. The arc is strictly for smacking down demons, not for your power trip. Whipping out a shiny crystal, the totally unhinged prince is like, don't you worry your pretty little heads. Once I get my hands on the arc, even the demons will be bowing down to the Empire. Our boy just whips out his sword with a flick of the wrist. Well, how convenient, he deadpans. The quest item just hand-delivered itself. The prince, now absolutely fuming, just growls. So, you've chosen the hard way. Fine. Forward, my brave Imperial cannon fodder. Show me your loyalty. And just like every red shirt in history, these guys are totally about to get wrecked. They draw their swords, screaming the classic, "For the Prince and the Empire" line. A big ol' system warning pops up. Ding! You've just entered the final story stage. The prince and his edgy-looking black guards are making a move to snatch the ark. Our resident saint starts dishing out buffs, while Kang casually summons, 1,000 swords for the party. Seriously, there are so many skills and glowing buffs flying everywhere, it would take a whole hour just to list them all. Long story short, my man goes full-on DPS mode on these poor saps. And so begins the human kebab making session. It's just slash, slash, and more slash. Meanwhile, the prince is over there sweating buckets as his personal army gets deleted one by one. Gritting his teeth, he screams, "This ain't over," before smashing that arc fragment he was holding. Its power just explodes outwards, and boom, another system window pops up for our boy. It's a big red warning. The prince has just juiced up on the arc's power. Kang glances back with that signature troll face grin and goes, "Hey Saint, looks like somebody let the arc's power out of the bottle." Blizia just about has a heart attack on the spot, completely frozen like a deer in the headlights. A massive purple explosion goes off, and Kang just braces for impact. Then, K-boom! Some giant, shadowy creature straight out of a nightmare pops out, looking like a demonic Hulk. The remaining soldiers are just staring, like, "Your Highness? Is that you?" And then splat. With one swing, blood just paints the scenery. He one-shots 10 of his own dudes, roaring, "Get out of my way, you worthless maggots." Kang's just like, "Well, would you look at that?" He went full monster mode. "Hey Saint, mind hitting me with another one of those buffs?" She gives a shaky nod. Our hero then suits up in his slick ice armor and chugs both an earthquake and a flame potion. Dude is now looking more like a final boss, slaying hero than ever before. The entire ground trembles as the beast charges, and Kang just casually parries the attack. He fires back with a flurry of cuts, dicing up the Hulk Wan who's now screaming bloody murder. Totally ticked off, the big guy just growls. "You really think a scrub like you can beat me with a little campfire?" Kang just cracks a smirk, and the monster stops dead in its tracks. The gears in its tiny brain finally turn, but it's way too late. Kang launches himself into the air, powering up a vertical slash while trolling the beast. "Whoa there, big fella. Looks like your vision's a bit blurry. Guess all that power went straight to your head and your eyes." Then he drops down like a divine smackdown from the heavens, carving a massive hole clean through the monster's torso. The Dark Hulk coughs up a lungful of the red stuff. Yeah, he's toast. Our dude just casually strolls off, channeling his inner Sungjin Woo like an absolute boss. A wild system notification appears. Quest complete. The second arc fragment has been secured. A brilliant green light erupts in the sky, and Kang just deadpans that it feels like a cutscene from some janky gacha game. And what do you know? A glowing green crystal starts floating down from the sky. The saint is absolutely gobsmacked, whispering, "It's the arc." Meanwhile, Kang just snatches the crystal out of the air. He's like, "Would you look at that, right on schedule." The system, of course, pops up to pat him on the back. He's hit level 50 and has now unlocked access to the Tower of the Awakened. With a grin, he offers the shiny rock to the saint, who immediately starts doing the whole "oh, I couldn't possibly" routine. She claims she's not worthy of such a massive power-up. Our number 10 just shakes his head, clearly not having it. "Look, I can't think of anyone who deserves it more. But she keeps insisting she's not worthy. Seriously. Lady, just take the dang crystal already. Stop with the bashful maiden act." He's totally out of patience and lets out a huge sigh. "Fine, maybe we should just gift wrap it for the Dragger Empire instead. But let's be real. It's way safer with you." Then he practically shoves the crystal into her hand and gets serious. From my experience, the people who scream about being qualified are always the first to misuse their power. They get all twisted up because they're obsessed with some rigid idea of duty. But you're different. You'll be down in the trenches fighting with everyone else, won't you? The arc is just a tool to get the job done. She finally looks down at the crystal in her hand, her eyes sparkling as she softly thanks him for the pep talk. Kang's just like, "No problem. Happy to help." The system chimes in again, announcing he's officially cleared the Tower of Sword and Sorcery. Now, with that legendary weapon in her grasp, Saint Elysia was finally able to defend her kingdom, kick out all the demons, and basically save the world. Elysia's trust in you is now at max level. As a special reward, he gets the Blessing of the Saint buff. Sweet. Sometime later, we find our boy just casually sprawled out, watching the news go nuts over the tower he just finished wrecking. And his only thought on this massive achievement? That he probably took way too much time doing it. Or maybe not, seeing as it's only the middle of January. Rolling over in bed, he grumbles, "Besides, I've got way bigger fish to fry right now." And just a few days later, Kang is just strolling down the street when he hears a commotion. He glances back to see a pack of 10 reporters barreling toward him. As per usual, they're desperate for an interview. Without a second thought, he requests to enter a tower. The reporters skid to a halt, completely baffled. Dang it, he pulled the tower trick again. What kind of tower is it this time? They go pale when they realize it's the Tower of Awakening. Inside, a grand voice echoes around Kang. "I have been waiting for you, child of 1,000 faces and 1,000 talents." Kang cracks an eye open, looking thoroughly unimpressed, and says, "Cut the dramatic monologue. Let's just get this over with." He then takes a look around. He's standing in a hall of mirrors, reflecting endless versions of himself, all of them cackling maniacally. The voice tells him he's far too impatient. One of the reflections begins to warp, its eyes glowing a sinister red. "Oh, don't you worry," it snarls. "We'll get started right away." All the mirrors suddenly shatter as a single foot steps forward, a foot that looks exactly like his own. And then we see him, Kang, but decked out like a twisted clown, or maybe a clown who stole Kang's face. It's a real chicken or the egg situation. Our protagonist draws his swords, and so does his carnival freak copy. Their blades crash together, and Kang immediately charges in. The fight is on, fast-paced and vicious. But everything Kang pulls off, the clone mimics flawlessly, and he's definitely noticed. Powering up his shadow ability, Kang mutters, "I've fought this guy in every possible timeline, and he still gives me the creeps." He fires off a barrage of shadow spikes, but the clone just casually deflects them with its sword, a smug grin on its face as its blade whips within inches of Kang's neck. At the very last second, Kang summons his shield and parries. He follows up with a counterslash, but yet again, the clone perfectly mirrors his attack. Kang shouts out for Norah, his ever-faithful cat, but, crickets. He realizes summons are probably disabled here. Taking a step back, he sighs. Well, it was worth a shot. The key to finishing this is actually ridiculously simple. He steadies his footing, raises his sword, and lunges. Blood sprays everywhere. They've stabbed each other at the exact same time. The clown just lets out a laugh, cocking its head. Why so serious? It then continues. We can become the heroes or the villains. We can be anything we want on this stage, so there's no need to look so glum. The evil doppelganger raises its hand. There's nothing in this world worth taking quite that seriously. All this, while they both have swords sticking out of their chests. They're locked in a death grip, hands clamped on each other's skulls as a violent purple energy erupts all around them. Kang shoots him a death stare and says with ice in his voice, "How'd you like that little magic trick? Time to put a sock in it." And just like that, asterisk, splat, asterisk, the clone's head completely detonates. And there's Kang, just standing there, holding the mask left behind. He slowly brings it to his face, looks up, and asks, "This party's not over yet, is it?" Right on cue, the monarch of masks materializes with a smug grin, congratulating him. Take your new face and your new talent. And with that, we cut to a hospital scene. Mr. Park is absolutely booking it down the hallway, giving Usain Bolt a run for his money. He slams open the door to Kang's room, totally out of breath, only to see Kang casually lift a hand in greeting. A smirk plays on his lips as he goes, "Yo, what's the emergency?" Mr. Park, looking massively relieved, just says, "Whoa, you actually came back empty-handed for once. Phew, I was worried for absolutely no reason," he says, totally ribbing him. Kang fires back, "Now's not the time to be laid up in bed. The Hero King's still got a world to save, you know." Kang gives him a look like he just got slapped with a fish. "Seriously, dude? I literally just checked into the hospital to recover and you're already trying to send me back into the meat grinder?" But Mr. Park just scoffs. You've got a pharmacy's worth of potions and a boatload of healing skills. Stop being such a drama queen. But Kang's expression darkens. These wounds are the real deal. Seeing this, Mr. Park's tone shifts immediately. You're right. Your monarch is no joke. I bet that opponent was a tough nut to crack. With a sigh, Kang just admits, it wasn't that bad. Could have been worse, I guess. He then explains that the awakening test at level 50 is different for every monarch. For him, it meant having to take down an exact clone of himself, and the prize was getting his own unique talent. In other words, he basically got a perfect copy of every single skill card and attribute he's ever collected. Talk about a power-up. Hopping to his feet, Kang says, well, I got the goods. So I'm good to go. What's the mission? A sly, scheming grin spreads across Mr. Park's face as he replies, what do you think? We're going bad guy hunting, and this time, we've got a real piece of work on our hands. He whips out his phone, showing a live feed of a city being swallowed by flames, panicked civilians scrambling for their lives everywhere you look. And on the screen, you see this lunatic dressed like a symphony conductor, yelling, ah, these screams, such a beautiful symphony of despair. He dramatically points his baton and declares, behold my magnificent artistry, you peasants. Allow your maestro to enlighten you, ignorant fools with true art. And with a flick of his wrist, he unleashes a torrent of fire in every direction. The whole place just goes up in smoke. Turns out, the Monarch of Flames is super impressed with this player, Dongup Park, and is rewarding him handsomely for the chaos. The fire-obsessed lunatic spreads his arms wide, gushing, at last, someone who gets the sheer beauty of my art. He's calling himself the Monarch of Flames, but his grand speech gets cut short when he spots the authorities closing in to bag him. An officer shouts, son of a, looks like the psycho booked it into a tower. Someone radios in. Which tower did that nut job dive into? Level 4, the officer replies grimly. Another guy grumbles, crap, that one's a 2-person max. Meanwhile, Kang just casually strolls past them, hands jammed in his pockets, taking in the view of the burning city. He thinks to himself, a player doesn't have to be a hero, but one who just wants to watch the world burn? Now, he's genuinely pissed, stone cold serious. That clown is about to find out what happens when you cross the line. He enters the tower, and the scene instantly warps to something straight out of a gladiator arena. As the phantom crowds roar, the flame maniac spots him and lets out a cackle. Oh look, they sent me another plaything. But he chokes on his own words the second he recognizes the face. Just as Kang draws his sword, Kang's voice is ice cold. That's right, they sent me, you worthless pyromaniac. The pyro's eyes light up like a bonfire. The hero king. Of all people, I knew you times would appreciate my art. Join me, he begs, but Kang just cuts him dead, a pretentious circus clown. It's a genuine mystery how the world got infested with wannabes like you. The self-proclaimed maestro glares down at him. You dare insult my times art asterisk. Call it unoriginal. Then witness my magnum opus. Unique skill. Infernal fire orchestra, flames erupt from everywhere, explosions rocking the entire stage. But Kang just weaves through the chaos with flawless reflexes, not even breaking a sweat as fireballs rain down. A smirk plays on his lips as he taunts, so typical of a failed artist. Throws a little tantrum when he gets called out. The hothead, completely triggered, starts channeling a ridiculous amount of power, forming a massive cage of fire around Kang, actually thinking he's got him trapped. The maniac is laughing his head off, right up until Kang shatters the cage and bursts out of the inferno, hovering in midair. Kang just scoffs. Gonna have to try a lot harder than that to hold me, as he raises his sword to end the circus act. But out of nowhere, he's suddenly engulfed in another blazing trap. The madman cackles like a hyena. A masterpiece, starring the Hero King himself. This is my finest work. But inside the raging inferno, Kang is just grinning. A split second later, he's standing right behind the maestro. He swings his blade for the kill, but the pyromaniac somehow manages a last-second dodge, leaving even Kang genuinely surprised for a moment. Clutching his neck where the blade nearly connected, Dongu sputters, "How did you do that?" Kang just smirks, a flicker of realization in his eyes. Illusions aren't supposed to be able to talk, and I don't have to explain jack squat to a second-rate failure like you. And just like that, a system window pops up. He breaks down how the Oculus skill lets him hijack someone's vision for a whole 3 seconds, and while that keyword is in play, whatever freaky stuff he makes you see actually becomes solid. In short, he's turning make-believe into a world of hurt. Then, a bunch of Kang clones pop up, and our boy starts the trash talk, saying, "Don't sweat it, you'll have a full house for your grand finale." But then, getting dead serious, Kang adds, "After all the chaos you've caused, this is your last curtain call." Shaking like a leaf, the psycho starts powering up his ultimate move, screaming, "My art is an explosion." And with a massive K-boom, just like that, our great value Daedara wannabe literally blows himself to bits. Kang casually throws up an arm to block the blast, but then a system window pops up, basically patting him on the back for the win. He's just standing there, completely baffled, trying to figure out what the heck just happened, and then the system pings him, saying he's cleared the tower and is free to bounce. So he starts mashing the exit button like a madman, because he knows players can totally send each other to the Shadow Realm for keeps in these towers. Next thing you know, the failed artist himself bursts out of the tower, sprinting for his dear life. A smug grin spreads across Kang's face. Heh, I knew it. And with that, he shoots off in pursuit, ready to take out the trash. He lands a clean slice right across the dude's back. Schwing! Then a bunch of ice blades fly out, dicing up the guy's arms and legs. Kang raises his sword for the finishing blow, but just as he's about to swing, a shiny golden barrier materializes. Blinking in surprise, he spots a whole crew, and this absolute bombshell of a blonde steps forward, telling him to drop his sword. Kang just narrows his eyes at her. He's thinking, wait a sec. Those barriers are only supposed to stop attacks from the inside. The blonde tries to explain that she was helping him, claiming the perp is already detained and will be handed over to the proper channels. Rocking a look of pure, unfiltered annoyance, Kang starts to walk off, making it seem like he's dropping it. But the second she relaxes, he sneakily pools energy in his hand and launches an attack anyway. The blonde panics and throws up another barrier, but Kang's not stopping there. Noah lunges forward and makes a happy meal out of the criminal, leaving everyone completely shell-shocked. The system immediately alerts him that his provocation stat just shot through the stratosphere. Even the Monarch of Masks is giving him a slow clap. Suddenly, Kang's player getup dissolves, and now he's got a whole circle of weapons pointed right at him. Kang just stares them all down and says, "You have any idea how many people that monster sent to an early grave? Including kids? I didn't have a single reason to let a monster like that live. Forget the towers, those black hat players are the real apocalypse. If taking out the trash makes me a monster, then so be it." The blonde bombshell steps in, lays a hand on his shoulder, and whispers all soft and gentle like, "You're not a monster." But while they're having their little heart-to-heart, Mr. Park is blowing up his phone, absolutely screaming into Kang's ear, "You absolute moron. That is not how we do things." A public spectacle was not on the agenda. Now the entire French government wants you deported, like, yesterday. Your one-way ticket out of here is booked for tomorrow morning. But Kang, cool as a cucumber, just says he's got some personal business to wrap up. Mr. Park, already getting a migraine, tries to ask what fresh hell he's about to unleash, but Kang just straight up hangs up on him. The blonde, who caught an earful of that, thanks Kang for not ditching her. He's just like, I owed you one anyway. Might as well help out. Then, smooth as sandpaper, he tries to make his move, sliding right next to the stunning blonde on the bed, only for her to pop up like a piece of toast, expertly swerving his advance and saying she'll catch him tomorrow in Paris. He's left with just a 1,000-yard stare, so Kang just asks if she needs anything else. She just gives a quick no, a bye, and bolts out the door. Once she's out, she's got this look of pure, unadulterated worry, clearly wondering if asking this absolute menace for help was the biggest mistake of her life. And scene change. We're now in Paris, deep inside the Revolutionary War Tower, a gnarly level 6 dungeon. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, complete the story. Cue the high-speed carriage chase already in progress. Kang's throwing up a magic shield like it's nothing, blocking a whole storm of arrows aimed at their ride. He yells over to the blonde, "Bridge up ahead, that's where we make our stand." The quest log says, "Protect the king and his snooty nobles from the angry mob." With one epic leap, Kang and the blonde bail from the moving carriage like a couple of action heroes and obliterate the bridge behind them, leaving the VIPs safe. Now, it's time to face the welcoming committee of angry knights. But just as they're about to throw down, one of the knights yells for everyone to hold their fire. He points at Kang and shouts, "Hey, you're one of us. We thought you were here to help the rebellion. What are you doing fighting for these corrupt pigs? Come back to the right side." "We don't want to fight you, man." Kang slowly turns to the blonde, a sly look on his face, and asks if this was her plan all along. The penny drops. This ain't her first rodeo in this particular historical drama. The blonde fesses up, explaining she found this place inside a level 5 tower. I never once doubted our righteous cause, she says, all dramatic-like. We're basically fighting the French Revolution all over again. Liberty, equality, and all that jazz. It finally dawns on Kang that the so-called righteous heroes have just become his new punching bags. He gives her a little warning. Hey, if you're planning on having a change of heart, you might want to spill it now. But she's adamant, pointing out that their resources are spread thin. The best play is to just treat this like any other level 6 tower and smash through it. Kang just shrugs, figuring there's no point in turning back now. She flashes a smile, admitting she's glad he's the one with her in this tower. Cut to the next chapter. The rebel captain is still trying to talk some sense into Kang, but before the guy can even finish his sentence, Kang casually runs him through and asks, "So, do we still look like some holy saviors to you? This is your last and only warning. The bridge is gone. Bail now, unless you want to bleed out for absolutely nothing." But the captain refuses, vowing they'll fight for their cause, even if it means taking on the otherworldly visitors. Decking himself out in magical armor with his soldiers, he starts screaming about freedom and equality again. As they come, barreling in with their little anti-visitor formation, Maria starts her light show, casting a whole buffet of protective spells that bathe Kang in a divine glow. The blonde yells for him to duck behind her and keep his sword handy. But nope, Kang's taking over the whole operation. He proceeds to snuff out every single source of light on the field. This leaves the blonde completely blindsided, since she's totally useless in the dark. He almost gets clipped by an attack and has to admit, these level 6 mobs are no joke. They can actually pinpoint his location in the pitch black. All of a sudden, Kang barks at the blonde to get her shield up before she gets turned into a pincushion. Maria is practically begging him to turn the lights back on so she can actually fight, but Kang's not having it. He's actually having a good time. Plus, he points out, the EXP is shared anyway, and besides, the fight's already over. The blonde looks pretty bummed that she didn't get to do anything, but Kang just holds out a hand and says, "Time to move. That portly king is next on our hit list, you know. It'll all be for nothing if they get to him first." She complains that he was being a little extra, but he just smirks and goes, "It's just way more efficient this way. I'm here to help. Remember?" And with that, they march toward the burning city, where the Iron Duke is screaming his head off. Annihilate the enemies of the revolution. Show them zero mercy. He's ordering his goons to wipe out everyone, not even sparing the elderly or the children. When Maria and Kang finally arrive, the city is nothing but a smoldering ruin. The blonde is just frozen on the spot, completely horrified. Utterly horrified that not a single innocent life was spared. Kang just glances around and says, "This is what you get when an ideology gets way too big for its britches. Probably the same story back where you're from." Just then, the system pings them. Elite Iron Blood troops are on their way, and they're led by the Duke himself. A cocky grin spreads across Kang's face, figuring this just makes his job easier since they're not some high and mighty nobles. With a snap of his fingers, he kills the lights again. In a flash, it's game over. Every last enemy, completely annihilated. The system announces that the tower has been cleared. The Royalists had won, but as history tells it, they eventually fell to the Iron Blood Duke, kicking off a brutal regime that was doomed to fail anyway. And now for the good part. Kang gets his loot. A random skill card pack and a random artifact for conquering the tower. With the dungeon officially cleared, a horde of reporters immediately mobs Maria, grilling her on why she and the Hero King were suddenly working together. She gives the classic PR answer, saying it was all for the good of their respective nations. But Kang, who lives for this stuff, decides to jump right in. He jokes that they shared a passionate night together and that this whole tower raid was just an excuse for a date. The blonde absolutely erupts, furiously denying everything while Kang keeps pouring gasoline on the fire until she finally screams at him to shut up. The system itself dings in, warning that his provocation level has just shattered the record and that even the Monarch of Masks is dying from laughter. More notifications pop up. The Monarchs of Shadows, Assassins, and Pioneers all start sending him skill packs as a reward for the hilarious show. When he sees the news headlines screaming about a secret torrid affair between him and the blonde, he just howls with laughter, remarking that it's a little late to sell the "we're just friends" story now. Ironically, the blonde seems to be secretly enjoying all the gossip. Next up, inside the Tower of the Deadly Glacier, an entire army is bearing down on their position. For once, Kang seems a bit tense, telling the blonde to beef up her protection spell, but she's still salty about his earlier antics and decides to get some payback. I guess our hot night is going to be followed by a really, really cold one. Over the next month, the Hero King and the Saint go on a tear, clearing out multiple towers all across France, one right after the other. At the airport, as they're finally about to part ways, Kang flashes that infuriating grin and says, "So, isn't it a tradition in some countries to say goodbye with a hug? Or maybe a kiss?" Maria just crosses her arms and says she's almost envious of his ridiculously carefree attitude. She called him a reckless maniac, but hey, she had to admit it was a relief having him around. Kang gives a lazy wave, and she genuinely thanks him for, not letting her world get vaporized. Back on the plane, Kang's just chilling, staring out the window like he's in a music video. He's thinking how awesome it'd be if people actually pulled their weight to save the world instead of just looking out for number one. Maybe next time I should invite the Saint over to Korea, he mumbles to himself. But then, out of nowhere, Norah's voice chimes in, saying, "You've already given that poor girl enough headaches." Kang nearly jumps out of his skin, whipping around and sputtering. "Hold on, you can talk?" Norah just calmly explains that ever since his big evolution, "Yep, I can." Kang, with his eyes wide as dinner plates, demands to know why he kept his mouth shut all this time. Norah deadpans that he didn't want to interrupt Kang's pathetic attempts to flirt with the blonde, and tells him to quit messing around and check out the new card packs already. So Kang cracks them open, practically begging the gacha gods for a legendary skill pack since he's been winging it with random junk cards this whole time. He knows that cards are all about synergy to really pop off, and he's got a boatload of them. The problem is, none of them actually work together, until now. Finally, it looks like he's got a complete set. Cracking his knuckles, Kang declares, "Alright, let's go find some tower to test drive this new deck, then we can bounce." Back in the city, Kang's about to stroll into a building when people on the street start pointing him out. As he heads downstairs, he spots some kid completely passed out and snoring at a table. This being his personal training ground, he rudely awakens the brat with a solid kick to the desk. The kid jolts awake, screaming, "Who the heck are you?" Kang just gives him a death glare and says, "You've got 3 seconds to get on your feet." But the spoiled punk just smirks and retorts, "Do you have any idea who I am? I'm the president's son." Kang could literally not care less. He snatches the kid by his hair, yanks him outside, and bellows at the onlookers, "Move it! The Hero King is coming through." The kid starts freaking out, begging him to let go. Kang suddenly remembers asking the association to find him a guinea pig to test his new deck on, preferably someone who could also use a little forceful mentoring. But man, is he regretting that request now? The association sent him this totally green newbie, and Kang seriously doubts this kid could clear a level 3 tower by himself. But when the kid finally realizes who he's dealing with, his jaw hits the floor. "Wait, you're the hero, Kim? You're actually gonna help me get to level 4? Kang just gives him a casual nod. Deep inside the butcher's slaughterhouse tower, Kang decides it's time to test the newbie's mettle, delivering a swift kick to the kid's rear to get him moving. The kid eats dirt, landing smack dab in front of a pack of monsters, and just as they lunge, he absolutely freaks out and makes a run for it. Kang, looking thoroughly unimpressed, asks the kid what exactly he's playing at and why he isn't even trying to fight back. Still panicking, the brat screams that letting him bite the dust would be a very bad idea. And just as Kang suspected, that fancy pants armor the kid's rocking is the only thing keeping him in one piece. He hasn't got a single clue how to actually fight. These silver spoon brats have no backbone. Kang muses that they're always waiting for someone else to solve their problems for them, and these clowns are supposed to be the future saviors of the world? Pathetic. While Kang is lost in his cynical thoughts, the kid is getting absolutely demolished. Finally, he lets out a pathetic scream for help. That's the cue Kang was waiting for. He unleashes his shadow power, instantly wiping out the monsters in front of them, then obliterating another wave that ambushes them from above. Looking incredibly pleased with himself, Kang turns to the kid and casually says, "And times, that's times how it's done." The brat, absolutely livid, gives him a one-finger salute and screams that Kang is so going to regret this when his daddy hears about it. Kang just smirks, deciding to dangle a little false hope in front of him. He tells the kid, "Consider this whole ordeal a valuable lesson," trying to bait him into trying harder. The kid, looking relieved, asks, "So, that was your plan all along?" But Kang isn't the sentimental type. With a wicked grin, he replies, as if, "You're a useless piece of trash." And with that, he decides it's the perfect time to test out his new assassin aspect card, instantly marking the boy as a target and striking him down in one clean hit. As the kid hits the floor, Kang smiles coolly and says, "Come back and try to get your revenge when you're actually strong enough." Mission failed. The kid gets booted, and both of them are zapped right back onto the street. Totally bewildered, the boy asks what the heck just happened. Kang, cool as a cucumber, informs him, "You died." The brat immediately gets all fired up again, screaming that Kang is going to have to answer to his father and the mega corporation backing him. Kang just laughs, completely unbothered. He grabs the kid by the collar, leans in, and says, "You know, I'm actually curious. What exactly is your little corporation going to do to me? The people who want a piece of me are national-level threats. You really think your daddy's company packs a bigger punch than that?" Right in the middle of this little showdown, they both hear a distinct Times click, asterisk. Suddenly, the system spams a bunch of notifications, announcing they've been chosen for Labyrinth number 999, a special little playground designed by the Monarch of Masks. Our boy Kang, looking like some rich brat, gets zapped there along with a handful of other unlucky souls. It sinks in pretty fast that they'll have to play nice together if they want to make it out alive. And what a relief! The freaking Hero King is in their group, so they figure they're basically set. Just then, another system message flashes up, laying down the ground rules for this little deathmatch. Rule number 1. If you get iced by another player, you're out, but don't sweat it, you'll respawn once the whole thing's over. Rule number 2. If the labyrinth itself takes you out, that's a permadeath, no do-overs. Rule number 3. You can win by either taking down the final boss, the Green King, or just by being the last team standing. Rule number 4. There are 5 teams thrown into this mess, and they're all supposedly at a similar power level, right? Rule number 5. Lose 3 members from your squad, and your whole team gets the boot. And rule number 6. These rules are in effect until this nightmare is officially over. The cannon fodder immediately starts panicking, chattering about how screwed they all are. Kang just smirks, muttering to himself that the labyrinth isn't the real threat here. It's these useless newbies that are going to get him killed. He then casually asks everyone to state their levels. With that settled, they step into the Hunter's Jungle Labyrinth. And surprise, surprise, monsters jump them almost immediately. Kang barely flinches, throws up a shield, and vaporizes the lot of them. A quick glance around confirms his suspicion. His team is full of total amateurs. Of course, the system's idea of balance was to stick him with all the dead weight. He figures, this means the other teams are probably full of level 40s to even things out. He knows the enemy teams will see his group as a free lunch, so he tells Noah to babysit the scrubs because, looks like company's here. Right on cue, Team C comes charging in, but Kang's already 5 steps ahead of them. He makes a beeline for 3 of them, because he knows the fastest way to win is to exploit the rules. Take out 3, and the whole squad is toast. But a scout from another team spots him mid-rampage and recognizes the legendary Hero Kane. Just as the guy is about to turn tail and scream a warning to his buddies, Kang snags him, but the slippery little rat manages to break free and rallies his team to go after the easy targets. But in a hilarious twist, that same spy completely sells out his own team. He leads Norah right to their doorstep, and she proceeds to absolutely shred them. After that, the enemy teams just start dropping like flies. Finally, the system chimes in, announcing that the mission is a wrap. The first labyrinth is officially cleared. The team starts celebrating, but their party is cut short by another system pop-up. Turns out, the reward is only 2 measly blessing tickets, and now the group has to figure out who deserves them. Without missing a beat, Kang complains that he should obviously get both, since he basically soloed the entire thing. But then the entitled brat pipes up, demanding a card as compensation for his hurt feelings from back in the tower. Then another player, some level 20 dude, starts arguing he deserves one because he was the only one who actually threw hands. The whole thing devolves into a clown show real fast, and they're all about to throw down over the loot. The 2 actual newbies try to play peacemaker, but Kang is so over their whining, he shuts the whole thing down instantly, declaring, "You 2 need to learn your place and be happy with the participation trophies you already got." Anyone else got an opinion they'd like to share about who deserves what? The whole peanut gallery goes dead silent, completely shook, so Kang just yoinks all the rewards for himself. The next scene opens with him cracking open 2 cards, praying to the RNG gods for once, but naturally, he pulls 2 more B- rank pieces of junk. Norah immediately starts roasting him, saying his gotcha luck is literally in the toilet. The system chimes in, pointing out he has 2 flame resilience cards and asks if he wants to smash them together. He hits yes, and it forges them into a brand new fire inhibitor. This thing amps up his resistance to fire attacks and has a 1-hour cooldown. Kang explains that stacking blessings is always a pro-gamer move. Even if they seem kind of meh at first, they're way better than regular skills since blessings are permanent and don't get wiped when the season ends. While giving Norah some quality head scratches, he thinks out loud. Now that I've got this fire thing, maybe I should find a tower that's basically a giant furnace. What do you say to the level 6 Phoenix Nest? Norah gives him a hard pass, making it clear he's not about that fire life, and would much rather chill somewhere dark and spooky. Such a typical shadow cat. Kang just rubs his chin, saying, Norah is a picky little dude, but since he's adorable, he'll find a place they both like. Just then, the system buzzes him with an urgent message. The Tower of the Holy War is summoning player Yuzong Kang. The pendant hanging around his neck begins to pulse with a bright light, letting him know that holding the symbol of trust makes him a big deal. It also mentions the tower is level 7, and asks, are you going to answer the tower's call? A cocky grin spreading across his face, Kang mutters, guess these guys never heard of a day off, and warps right in. The moment he arrives, he hears a voice giving praise to the shadow gods for answering their desperate prayers. And then, a majestic elf queen appears, looking tall, elegant, and like she owns the place, and thanking him for, showing up. But hold on a minute. It's times her asterisk. That same snooty princess he bailed out before, the one who tossed him a necklace after acting like she owned the place. Oh, you just know this crafty woman was playing the long game from the start, playing some 4D chess with our boy, for real. Kang gets to his feet and goes, hey, you're that princess from back then. But before he can even take one step her way, 2 pointy spears suddenly block his path. The royal guards give him the, don't you dare move another inch look. Apparently, he's in the presence of the Supreme Queen now. She glides forward, announcing, I am immeasurably indebted to this man. Furthermore, he has once again answered my summons to lend us his strength, and she's smiling. Kang, with a smirk, notes that she's really climbed the social ladder since their last encounter. He puts 2 and 2 together. She must have snagged the crown after conquering that pale desert tower. He inches closer, puts on his best polite face, and asks, so, how can I be of service, Your Majesty? While thinking to himself, why in the world is she dragging me back into this? I mean, she got home safe and sound, even became queen. Then, the scene shifts to some poor soldier on his knees, breaking some seriously urgent news to a priest. Totally losing his cool, the priest screeches that the holy city has fallen to the ruler of the Aude kingdom and starts frantically praying to the god of light. And here comes the lore drop. After the old Pope Urban kicked the bucket, the brand new Pope Gregory decided it was time to take back the holy city. His master plan? Summon every single human king on the continent. We're talking Richard the Dragonheart King, Barbarossa, the dude with the crimson beard, and High King Philip II. And so began the Third Holy War, a total slugfest between the desert elves and all of humanity, fighting over who gets to keep the holy city. Our boy Kang, taking all this in, just nods along, thinking to himself, okay, I get the gist of it. It's basically just a big, my god is better than your god argument. Seriously, can't they all just hold hands and sing a song? They're all a bunch of heretics from my point of view anyway. The queen pipes up. The 3 kings are already marching their armies to war. They'll probably make a beeline for this fortress, since it's the closest pit stop to the holy city. Then she hits him with a dramatic pose and asks, will you not lend your blade to our cause in this war? But Kang, ever the magnificent troll, slaps a hand to his forehead like a damsel in distress and asks, oh my, is that the army of the Dragonheart King I see? The dark-haired elf next to her is completely floored, he can see that far. Our boy just grins and draws on his cards, swapping out his Oculus skill for Ice Bolt. Then, he casually materializes a freaking massive ice sniper rifle and takes aim at the enemy line. Stepping up like a true hero, he says, Your Majesty, I got this. Then the system hits him with a notification. Ice Bolt just got a 3-star upgrade, with a massive boost to its effective range and damage. And get this, firearm manifestation is now unlocked. Oh yeah, our boy is done playing nice. I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely lost it when my man whipped out a whole-ass sniper rifle. The scene flips to him perched on a boulder like a pro gamer, scoping out the enemy army from above. Kang lines up his shot, fires, and boom, 1 clean headshot. Someone down below starts screaming, it's that dude from yesterday, and the commander immediately starts panicking, shouting for the troops to get their shields up. They turtle up, forming a shield wall straight out of a history documentary, completely blocking his shots. Kang sees this and says, Well now, looks like those shields have been blessed by the Monarch of Flames. I swear, that guy's name keeps popping up ever since I started getting freebies from the Monarch of Frost. The commander barks an order for Squad 2 to go find our sniper boy. But Kang just leaps off his perch and charges straight at them with a massive grin. Guess it's time to get his hands dirty. Right on cue, the Queen's elven archers let loose a storm of arrows, raining down on the enemy's shield wall. A soldier completely freaks out, screaming, "Elves? Should we fall back to the main force?" But the commander's having none of it, yelling, "No, we have to find the visitor. The arrows of those heretics can't even scratch the shield of the God of Light." And right then, thwack asterisk, an arrow punches right through his supposedly impenetrable shield and plants itself square in his skull. The princess just smirks, saying, "Everything is going exactly as the visitor predicted," which means the real party, the enemy's main force, is about to crash the gates any second now. Some soldier is having a crisis of faith, shouting, "Why is the apostle fighting on the side of the heretics?" He's praying for his life, while Norah goes beast mode on the battlefield. And our favorite shadow cat summons that absolute unit of a whale again. And that thing just plows through the enemy lines like a freight train made of pure awesome. Honestly, Norah is starting to look seriously OP, not that we're complaining. But then, a new challenger appears, slicing right through Norah's shadows and yelling for the soldiers not to give up. Even Norah is caught off guard as this random soldier steps into the spotlight. He raises this glowing red sword and booms, "Hold your ground. Show no weakness before the God of Light." And who is this guy? None other than King Richard, the Dragon Heart King himself. He makes a beeline straight for the Elven Queen, but just as he does, a colossal shadow looms up right behind him. The king spins around just in time to get straight up swallowed. It looks like game over, until he raises that crimson sword high, carving through Norah's shadows with a mighty roar, as the God of Light commands. "Listen up, you godless heathens." He slams his sword into the ground, bellowing, "Avance." His soldiers absolutely lose it, screaming, "Amen," while Kang just stares, completely baffled. He mutters to himself, "Okay, this could be a problem," and starts summoning his ice blades. But then out of nowhere, a storm of arrows just blankets the enemy army. An elf shouts for Kang to keep his eyes on the prize as more elves vault into the fray, yelling that they're gonna cleanse the heretics in their queen's name. They charge in like a pack of rabid fans, grinning like maniacs, and Kang is thinking the exact same thing. These people are completely unhinged. The whole battlefield just explodes into pure chaos. Steel rings against steel, light clashes with darkness, but man, those elves are just wrecking shop, mowing down enemy soldiers like it's nothing. The Dragonheart King watches his army get shredded, absolutely livid, and plows forward, cutting down an elf in a single strike. Kang meets his stare, throws his arms wide with both blades out, and cracks a smirk. "Alright, now we're talking." Our boy dives right into the action, unleashing that signature flurry of his, but the Dragonheart King deflects every last one just by lifting his sword. Without missing a beat, he lunges straight for Kang, growling, "Do you have any idea who I am?" As he lets loose a perfect slash. Kang sidesteps it like it's nothing and replies, "You're the loot piñata that's about to drop a ton of rewards for me." He snatches the Dragon King's head, slaps him with the seal of death, and says, "Let's find out if that dragon heart is just for show." But then, something pops up. A system window flashes. Debuff activated. Target's weakness, accuracy, dexterity, and evasion all nerfed by 50%. Our hero tries to create some distance, but the Dragon King just bellows, "You filthy heretics will never defeat me." And then, completely out of left field, he shoves his sword into his own poor horse. Yeah, F in the chat for that horse, guys. It didn't ask for any of this. A colossal wave of power then erupts from him in a gnarly explosion. Kang braces himself against the shockwave, completely floored by how this dude is still packing so much heat after getting a 50% debuff. The king starts chanting some ritual. "I offer this blood sacrifice in your name, my lord. Grant me the power to annihilate these heretics." And with that, he charges straight at Kang, who instantly ditches his Ice Bolt skill for some shiny new telekinetic blades. The Dragon Knight unleashes a blistering crimson slash, but Kang just casually parries it and claps back with a swarm of flying swords that slam into the king's blade. Then, bloody tendrils erupt from the ground, grabbing onto the Dragon King as his body starts bulking out into some nightmare fuel. Feeling the squeeze like he's in a Spidey hug gone wrong, Kang notices the veins on this guy are bulging and pulsing way harder than before, probably from all that extra juice. He casually drops his sword, throws his arms open wide, and says, "Perfect time for a little experiment." And just like that, he activates a new ability. A massive magic circle explodes into view around him as Kang lifts a single finger and commands, "Rise." And there you have it, folks, Sun Jin Woo, the sequel. All the dead soldiers start lurching back to their feet, reanimated to serve him. The Dragon King roars, "You think these abominations can stop me?" But then he glances to the side, startled by a bizarre cracking sound. This, my friends, is his new skill. Raise undead warriors. As you'd expect, the resurrected grunts obey their new boss, and their bodies get a gnarly, battle-ready makeover. Vicious spikes suddenly burst out from the corpses of the undead. The Dragon King is frozen solid with shock as the horde charges right for him, and one of them even manages to land a solid hit, forcing the king down to his knees, just as the undead army poofs out of existence. The system pings Kang, letting him know his proficiency is too low to keep the spooky boys around for very long. But hey, the job's already done. With the Dragon King kneeling, Kang strolls forward to add another notch to his belt. The great value Sun Jinwoo strikes again. The scene zips back to the queen's swanky palace. Kang pops open a chest and presents the queen with a little souvenir, the Dragon King's noggin. This totally shameless woman thanks him for the effort, but then hits him with the "We've only defeated one of the 3 heretic kings. This war," she says, "is just getting started." Kang gets the message, slams the chest shut, and later that night is seen standing by the window, staring out at the view, clearly not thrilled with her little pep talk. He decides it's time to hit the sack. But then things get weird. Multiple green portals suddenly rip open right behind him. And who should step out but our favorite supreme capitalist, grinning like a Cheshire cat. "So," he chimes in, "looks like you've maxed out your ice blade materialization skill. If you just upgrade to our premium shop, you'll be able to purchase the advancement stone." Kang just cracks a faint smile and says, "Well, look what the cat dragged in. I figured you'd get bored playing shopkeeper in a dinky level 7 tower." So he casually drops a cool 3 million points to pimp out his shop, snags an advancement stone, and smashes that bad boy together with his ice blade, popping the achievement for Ice Artificer. Now, this skill comes with a trifecta of awesome effects, but the most busted one is a total game breaker. He can pull any ice-type skill card out of thin air, whether it's in his active deck or not. To put it simply, our boy just became the Ice King of Yu-Gi-Oh! The scene then cuts to our guy, staring at the sky like a true edgelord and muttering, "Looks like there's a cold front moving in." Next thing you know, he's summoning a storm of ice blades and just starts redecorating the landscape with them, all while chuckling that it's a beautiful day for his enemies to go meet their creator. A few jobber soldiers pop up, and poof, they're gone, in literally one frame. Just deleted. Kang doesn't even break his stride, muttering about how their boss is apparently too chicken to come out and play, even while his minions are getting turned into popsicles. So, with a heavy sigh, he decides he'll have to make a house call to the big man's tent himself. And cue the flashback. We're back to the Queen having a little chat with him earlier about a certain visitor. "My scouts are reporting that Redbird Barbarossa relocated his camp last night, and he only brought a skeleton crew with him." Kayan gives a little nod, impressed with her intel network, but she drops a bombshell. The tip came from human sources. He's looking all confused, so she breaks it down for him. "You see, the 3 kings? They absolutely hate each other's guts and have for ages. They're constantly stabbing each other in the back on the down low. Our source isn't exactly a Boy Scout, but an opening like this is too juicy to pass up. After all, Redbird's crew is the biggest threat of the bunch. My elite units are all yours for the taking. I need you to lead the charge on this one." And with that, we're back to the present. Kang's posted up outside the tent, thinking to himself, the original plan was a simple smash and dash if things went south. The intel seemed totally on the level, but the king was a total no-show. Until Kang rips open the tent flaps and sends a flash freeze wave across the floor, shouting, "Found you," and asking what he was doing playing hide-and-seek. The man just keels over, spilling his fancy wine goblet everywhere. Kang gives the cup the side-eye, wondering if someone beat him to the punch with poison. This just sends him into a fit of maniacal laughter as a soldier rushes in, yelling that the perimeter is secure, only to literally freeze up at the sight and stammer, "Wait, is Redbird actually gone?" And then it clicks for Kang. Back in the real world, countries have been going at it since day 1 of the seasons, dispatching assassins to take out high-ranking players from rival nations. All in the name of national interest. My foot. He absolutely smashes the poisoned glass, raging about how ridiculous this is, while the queen starts sweating buckets. So he really got played by his own side? That means the tip-off was legit after all. Kang just throws his hands up, all casual, like, hey, we just wanted to make absolutely sure Redbird was a goner. She's completely floored, asking who in their right mind would backstab an ally before a war. Kang, cool as a cucumber, just replies, I'd say that's precisely why they did it. Not only do they get to steal all the glory for themselves, they also manage to kneecap two rival kingdoms at the same time. The queen is seriously struggling to keep her cool, and says their number one problem is still the Grand King's army. But Kang's quick to point out that they'll still have to face the survivors from the other king's armies. And those troops are probably marching for the Grand King now. I mean, after all, this is supposed to be a holy war. And bam. Scene change to a soldier scrambling into a tent. He's totally winded, reporting that the heretics ambushed Redbird and completely smoked his entire knight division. Some guy in flashy gold armor just smirks and says, awesome, we can just pin this whole mess on the elves. And this two-faced snake is none other than King Philip. He's rubbing his hands together like a supervillain, saying, oh, how splendid. Now his troops are all mine. He raises a hand, declaring that with two kings out of the picture, the leftover soldiers have no other choice but to rally behind him. Of course, some nearby commander immediately starts sucking up, bowing and saying, Your Majesty, you will crush the heretics and restore the holy city to its former glory. We are ready to fight and die by your side. The schemer just grins and lets out a big, evil laugh. He starts going on about how he's basically God's chosen one, who received a message from on high. He tells everyone to get revenge in his name, and then drops the bomb. He wants Redbeard's and the Dragonheart King's old troops to be the frontline meat shields. Talk about a 5 to 100 IQ play from a total scumbag. Gotta admit though, I have a soft spot for this brand of villain, at least right up until the MC shows up and yeets his head from his shoulders. But even as he's fading, Philip is still spouting nonsense. You can trust me, I'm being guided by an angel of the Lord. And we cut back to our boy, standing tall and analyzing the enemy forces. He mutters, let's see, the Dragonheart King's forces, Redbird's armored units, and a new army. All united under the same banner. That's when it clicks for him. They're using the other armies as a human shield. Textbook move, he says. That's what war mages do best. Right on cue, the soldiers start their battle cry. Purge the heretics in the name of the God of Light. For the sake of peace, our protagonist just lets out a massive sigh, thinking he's read that exact cringy war cry in some history book. Do these guys seriously think that wiping out all their enemies is the secret recipe for peace? He just turns around and whips out a card. Zephyr. Summon the Western Wing for battle. The system dings in, confirming the buff has been successfully activated. He then launches himself skyward, unleashing a literal blizzard of ice magic across the enemy's front line. A soldier on the ground spots him and screams, That's the visitor! Let's make him pay for what he did to our king. Hold the line, as King Philip himself draws his sword. He bellows, God of Light, lead us to victory. And in that very instant, the king unleashes a massive wave of fire, completely snuffing out Kang's ice magic. Some random soldier starts cheering, the gods are with us, while on the flip side, the elves start drawing their bows. And what do you know, one of them says the exact same thing. Except, their god is the god of shadows. Suddenly, system notifications start spamming his vision. A whole bunch of councils have joined the war. The Shadow Council, the Frost Council, and a few more. Kang narrows his eyes, thinking to himself, what in the world do these gods even get out of all this drama? Explosions are going off everywhere as soldiers raise their shields to block the storm of elven arrows. You can tell he's getting seriously ticked off now. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. These gods are nothing but a bunch of scumbags. And that's when Norah decides to pop in for a visit. He tells Kang to quit his philosophical rambling and just do the job he was paid to do. Kang just cracks his neck and goes, yeah, you're right. I'm ending this right here, right now, 'cause I am so over this already. The next scene kicks off with a message from the Shadow Council. Do not disappoint us. We will temporarily grant you 100 shadow puppets. Kang lands on one of them with a wicked grin. Well, aren't they feeling generous today? Then he spots something familiar. It's the same angels he already thrashed earlier, and they're back for more. He just smirks. Guess the enemy called in some reinforcements. He gives the order. Fine. Those rank 9 angels are all yours. Puppets, go wild. With a sly smile, he adds, I'm only interested in one guy. And right on cue, King Philip drops out of the sky, bringing his sword down in a devastating vertical slash. Kang dodges it by a hair. Philip lets out a laugh, and Kang freezes for a second. That cape, how does he have that item? Is he a player? Too? Philip's grin just gets wider. Look who's talking. You're a heretic yourself. You bastard. He lunges forward, roaring, I, King Philip. I will obliterate you in the name of the light. Kang just grins. Gotta say, you play the part of a villain pretty convincingly for a so-called servant of light. With that, Philip lunges forward again, their swords screaming against each other. Kang parries and ripostes, but Philip suddenly disengages, prompting Kang to grumble. This whole game is pay to win. Everyone's got wings except me, and you'll never guess what happens next. Yup, the Shadow Monarch himself drops a buff on Kang, hooking him up with the Wings of Shadow. Kang just blinks for a solid second, processing the sudden upgrade. Then, a massive grin splits his face as a gargantuan pair of wings erupts from his back. But, of course, he glances over his shoulder and scoffs. Seriously? These things look like they're from some low-poly PS2 game. If this turns into an aerial battle, the entire deck I min-maxed is going to be totally useless. Philip's smirk returns as he declares, finally, a worthy adversary. Steel rings out across the sky as they lock blades, trading death glares. The king sneers, you seem to be struggling. Such is the price for defying the god of light. Kang just scoffs back, telling him he's got a serious obsession with his so-called god. So, was poisoning Redbird part of that divine plan too? He asks, all while secretly prepping a sneak attack with his telekinetic blades. But Philip spots it, yelling, pathetic tricks won't work on me, you wretch, as he deflects every single blade. Then he adds, and you are correct, poisoning him was times the will of God. He then charges straight for Kang, claiming to be blessed by Seraph himself, roaring out, everything I desire is also the desire of the god of light, only for his sword to pass through nothing but an ice clone. Yep, we're officially in the Naruto arc, folks. Ice clones and everything. Our smug hero even has the nerve to stick his tongue out at him. Philip is frozen in pure shock, and our boy doesn't let an opening like that go to waste. You can just feel the finisher coming. He drives his sword straight through the arrogant king's chest, and Kang says, after trying out these wings for myself, I noticed they give you some serious tunnel vision. But then, the blade starts to glow, and a system alert pops up. An archangel of rank 8 has descended upon the body of the great king. Kang immediately jets backward at top speed as Philip's entire body erupts in a blindingly radiant light. Boom! A massive explosion of pure light rips across the sky. Kang throws up a shield, bracing for impact. When the light finally fades, the king's wound is completely healed. He's just standing there, arms spread wide, glowing like the final boss of some crazy anime. Look at this guy, halo and all. Poor schmuck has no idea he's just another NPC in my story. He's giving Kang the evil eye, and Kang's just thinking, huh, I thought only demons could pull a body-snatching gig. Guess the goody two-shoes can do it too. The two lock eyes, and bam, their swords start glowing like neon signs, both getting some insane new buffs. They charge at each other again, and the clash sounds like a freaking thunderclap. Everyone on the ground just stops dead in their tracks to watch the show. And of course, the rain starts pouring, just for dramatic effect. All you can see is a blinding flash up above. That's Kang, going full throttle, straight for the angel. He's a whirlwind of slashes, just absolutely relentless. But a little bit of sweat starts to bead on his forehead. The angel actually lands a hit, slicing clean through one of Kang's wings. He gets this smug grin and dives in. He's aiming to turn Kang into a shish kebab, sword right through the chest. Kang just lets out a roar, and that severed wing suddenly sprouts shadowy spikes that shoot out and impale the angel's body. Gotcha. The Holy Roller's eyes bug out, completely shocked. And in that split second of, what the heck just happened? Kang's ice blades zip forward, turning the angel into a human pincushion. Again and again. Kang's breathing a little heavy now. He checks the angel's neck to make sure the job's done. The half-frozen angel tries to whisper some last words, but the system cuts him off. Boss defeated. Great King Angel. The system has no time for death monologues. Channeling his inner Sung Jin-woo, Kang just mutters, sucks to be you. I don't need wings to own the sky. Then he yeets his other wing, right at the falling angel. Meanwhile, down below, the soldiers start screaming about something plummeting from the heavens. One of them finally realizes what it is, the angel himself. They just stare, completely dumbfounded, as the glowing body slams into the ground, absolutely riddled with Kang's blades. The system announces that the very course of history has been altered. As a result, his equipment begins to morph, granting him a corrupted special item and a cool 100 points. Kang lets out a sigh. Finally, he can relax. It's over. Then a blinding flash hits him as he steps out of the tower. A global announcement blares across the world. He's the first player ever to conquer a level 7 tower. Naturally, this means there are already about 1,000 reporters waiting for him. He tries to cover his face, wondering how the heck he got teleported right outside his own house. Some overeager reporter yells, "I noticed the cross on your coat is gone. Did you change equipment while you were inside the tower?" Man, these reporters have eagle eyes. Honestly, if I hadn't seen the whole thing myself, I never would have caught that detail. Kang just gives a little shrug. Yeah, I think so. They keep hammering him with questions while Mr. Park finally shows up, chewing out his driver for getting them there way too late to the party. The woman tells him to take a chill pill, pointing out he's been way too overprotective of Kang lately. Park just fires back that he's just trying to keep the kid from going completely off the rails. But our boy snatches the mic and is like, "You want me to say it again? Fine. I am so over this garbage. Honestly, some days I question why I even bother saving this planet. The return on investment is just terrible. But today, I feel chatty." Then, with this creepy ice-cold smile, he asks, "So, tell me, you guys into war?" The reporters all glance at each other, whispering, "War?" But he just keeps on smiling. He says, "Yeah, war. The good stuff. The kind where molten iron is dripping down castle walls, arrows are blacking out the sky, and guts are just redecorating the landscape." The reporters just stare, completely dumbfounded, probably thinking, what in the actual heck is this dude on about? Kang just plows on. Of course, this is the 21st century. In our modern era, it's more like missiles raining from the sky, bodies getting turned into Swiss cheese, and innocent people getting vaporized by fighter jets. Either way, you're always going to have guts splattered somewhere. So, I'll ask again, do you like war? The whole room breaks out in a cold sweat, everyone stammering, "No, of course not, nobody likes war." Kang lets out a soft chuckle, saying, "They're a total nightmare, win or lose." And just like that, he flashes back to a chat with the Elf Queen. She once told him, "I'm glad I got my revenge. But now, I'm terrified." Kang had asked her, "You literally crushed all your enemies, what's left to be scared of?" And she answered, "I can't stop thinking. This war, all this death, this horrific result. Was this really what our goddess intended?" Snapping back to the present, his eyes lock onto the reporters again. He says, "See? Exactly. I get your answers now. No sane, ordinary person would ever enjoy war." Then his voice booms through the room again. "All right, pop quiz number 2. Do you guys like heroes?" A blonde reporter thinks it over for a second and nods, saying, "Yeah, I do." Kang just cocks his head to the side. "Okay, then tell me something. Why do we call heroes heroes?" He throws his arms out wide, answering his own question with a flourish. "It's because they kick an unbelievable amount of butt on the battlefield. In other words, heroes are a direct product of war. So, how can you possibly say you like one and hate the other? I think you're all lying. You secretly love war way more than you let on." You could hear a pin drop as every single reporter's jaw hits the floor. One of them finally stammers out, "Mr. Kang, that is a wildly oversimplified and twisted accusation. That argument of yours is straight out of the history books. It's totally irrelevant in today's world," Kang sneered. "Outdated, you say? Funny, because our neighbors to the north, and the ones even times further, times north, not to mention the folks to the west, have been sending hit squads after me every single season, regular as clockwork. And that, my friends, is also war. Spying is just war with better suits." The blonde reporter's jaw dropped. "Hold on a second. Are you telling us foreign countries have tried to take you out?" Kang slapped a hand over his mouth in a show of pure, unadulterated shock. He let out a fake gasp. "Oh dear, you didn't know about that? I guess that was top secret information. Whoopsie daisy. My bad, I just can't help but let things slip. My dude is literally spilling national secrets on live television. Bro, you better watch your back. In some places, that kind of talk gets you a one-way ticket to a dark room." Another reporter, sensing an opportunity, jumped in. "You mentioned our neighbors to the north. Can you elaborate on that?" Kang just flashed a sly grin. "Sorry, my lips are sealed on that one. Just then, his phone started buzzing. And right on cue, a fleet of black sedans rolled up next to the swarm of reporters. Uh-oh. Looks like the cleanup crew is here to grab our boy. But totally unfazed, he just kept on talking. So, after mulling over this whole war business, I had an epiphany. All these big shots are so caught up in their petty squabbles, they've forgotten the world could literally go up in flames tomorrow. They figured out players are basically living weapons, so they try to throw us into their pointless conflicts. They have the audacity to ask me to fight their times, national rivals, instead of the actual threats to our existence. They genuinely seem to think they can just coast through this apocalypse without me or any of the other so-called war heroes. Then, for the grand finale, he threw his arms open wide and declared, "So I ask you, why in the hell should I lift a finger to save this world?" The entire crowd went dead silent, completely stunned. Even Mr. Park was frozen solid. A second later, his phone's mic caught his voice as he posed the question a different way. Does this world even times deserve times to be saved? The blonde reporter and her cameraman were just statues, utterly speechless. Nobody had a clue what to do or say. And then, one reporter, mustering up some courage, finally shouted, "Yes, the world deserves to be saved." Kang just tilted his head, his voice dangerously calm. "And why is that?" A random dude in the back screamed, "Because we can't just let innocent people perish. You have a duty as a player, you can't just walk away. You're the hero king. You're supposed to be a role model for all of us." Our guy just let out a long, weary sigh. Then, from the phone, a twisted, clown-like voice echoed out, "Why so serious?" It cackled. "We can be the hero. Or we can be the villain." He's all like, "We can be whoever we want on this stage." And honestly, it looks like our boy is about to completely snap. He cracks this wicked grin and goes, "Whoa, chill out. It was just a joke. You guys really don't need to take me so seriously." Seeing a PR disaster about to unfold, Mr. Park screams his name and grabs him by the arm, yanking him away while flashing his badge and yelling for everyone to make a path. But before getting hauled off, Kang spins back to the cameras and declares, "Oh, and by the way, for everyone watching at home, please stop hitting me up with all that noise about duty or a player's conviction or whatever. You seriously do not want to see what goes down when a loose cannon like me actually starts taking his convictions to heart." Then he points right at a reporter. "Make sure that gets on TV." They all try to stop him, yelling for him to wait. But Mr. Park is already dragging him out of there at full speed. And right on cue, after that epic troll fest, the system dings. The Monarch of Jesters is absolutely loving this. The Monarch of War is totally impressed. Reward granted. A class blessing. Mr. Park lets out a massive sigh, saying he's got to go downstairs to do some damage control and tells Kang to handle things up here. But before he can even blink, a whole bunch of new system windows pop up right in our protagonist's face. The Monarch of Parallel Worlds is cackling like a madman and grants him the tracking talisman effect. You can now apply the keyword X9 against an opponent in battle. The talisman constantly whispers intel only to its user, breaking down the target's weaknesses and jacking up your chances of landing a critical strike. Kang just gives it a deadpan stare, then closes his eyes and pretends the whole thing never happened. The scene then flips over to a news report blaring from a TV. The Hero King has now become the target of terrorist plots orchestrated by foreign nations. Public fury against the government is boiling over. Just then, Mr. Park walks in, beer in hand, and asks, "Why are you even watching this garbage? Don't you think you might have taken it a little too far this time?" Kang just side-eyes him and shoots back. "You mad?" Park just shakes his head. "Nah, of course not." He messes up Kang's hair and says gently, "I know how tough this whole thing is for you. I could never get angry. Not when I'm the only one who really gets what you're going through." Kang lets out a breath, half relieved, and cracks a joke. "Well, there is that French saint." Park immediately shuts that down. "That psycho? Please. She's not even in the same league as me. Get real, kid." Kang's cracking up, thanking the old geezer for always having his back. But the old man? Not even a grunt. He's just laser-focused on his beer. So, Kang, ever the curious one, pipes up, "Hey, remind me, what's your class again?" And Park just says, "Pure-blooded assassin." Naturally, Kang follows up with, "Oh damn, so you finished your class awakening? Score any sweet loot?" Park just flashes this wicked grin and unleashes a killer aura, all like, "You could say that. I got times this asterisk. The Heartbreaker, a legit legendary dagger." Kang, looking a bit sheepish, has to admit, "Yeah, well, I kinda accidentally corrupted a legendary piece of gear myself. Park gives him the side eye, warning, dude, pace yourself. You're gonna get yourself wrecked if you keep speed running your life like this. Then he gets this trollish smirk and adds, come on, let's go get some fresh air. I know this perfect little level 7 tower we can duo. And boom, they're standing in front of the Godfather and Underworld Tower. The old-timer tells him to gear up, giving him the whole spiel about how the path forward is a cesspool of backstabbing, brutal conflict, and just general, unadulterated grime. Kang just holds up a hand like, hold up, did I just walk onto the set of a Mora gangster flick? And just like that, we cut to a cliché rainy alley. Some blonde dude is all serious. You've got until summer. He shoves a small gadget at someone and says, don't you dare forget. This is for the peace of our time, or some other cheesy hero line. Then he flips open this busted watch, lamenting how it's a real shame it's broken since it was a gift from his godfather. Meanwhile, Kang is totally breaking the mood, whining about the rain and telling Mr. Park to put his hood up so he doesn't mess up his precious hair straightener. Of course, the dramatic blonde spots them, scrambles over screaming for help, and calls them strangers. Kang and Park just trade a look like, is that what they call noobs in this zone or something? The blonde starts spilling the beans, saying this is Black York and their family is in deep trouble. Kang, ever the cool guy, just smirks back. Danger? You could say that's our middle name. That's when he finally notices the, massive assets. The blonde times, woman times is sporting, and realizes he'd mistaken her for a dude this whole time. She gestures for them to follow her inside, saying she'll lead them to her boss. Once they get into the hideout, she lays out the situation. The entire city is run by 5 major underworld families. We're talking the Capones, the Falcones, the Gambinos, the Sanchez crew, and the Kios. Apparently, there's a big meeting in 3 days to divvy up ownership of a bunch of major businesses. But here's the kicker. Her godfather, who also happened to be the head honcho of the Capone family, got taken off the board, along with a bunch of his top lieutenants. Kang's ears perk up at that. Godfather? Huh? The blonde woman then gives him the tragic backstory about how she used to be an orphan, just scraping by in the city's back alleys. Then, by a stroke of pure luck, she awakened an ability, but it was pretty useless at first. That is, until her godfather took her in. After that, her life totally turned around. He was the guy who saved her life. Kang just nods along, while Mr. Park is over here touching everything like a kid in a candy store. The woman explains that during the chaos of the attack, she was only able to rescue her savior's son, who, believe it or not, is now the head honcho. And right on cue, some dude puffing on a cigar welcomes them, introducing himself as the president of Capone Enterprises, or to put it bluntly, the big boss of the Capone family. And Mr. Park just can't help himself and blurts out, wait, this little kid is the boss? And yep, on cue, a tiny blonde dude steps up, getting all up in Mr. Park's grill, insisting his name is Vito Capone, the one and only legitimate heir and head of the Capone family. The woman tries to get Mr. Park to chill out, saying, this foreigner clearly doesn't know who he's talking to. Yeah, right. The kid's trying way too hard to radiate charisma. Mr. Park is totally flustered. The kid then covers his mouth, trying to look all mature, and says, okay, settle down. We're on a tight schedule here, so let's cut to the chase. You have the floor, Rebecca. Oh, so her name's Rebecca. Got it. The guys all shoot each other a look, totally floored that she's a woman. Anyway, Rebecca says their goal is to bring back the Capone family's glory days. To do that, they need to lock down as many business territories as possible at the big upcoming meeting. Oh, and they also have to neutralize the guys who took out the old boss and the top brass, plus whoever was pulling the strings. So, Kang casually asks if they have any leads on who might be behind all this. Rebecca says they've got it narrowed down to one of the 4 other family heads, or maybe all of them are in on it together. But out of the bunch, Gambino is their #1 suspect. The guy hasn't really cemented his place in the organization yet, so it's a safe bet he's trying to stir the pot and start a war. Kang glances at the photos and asks, so, can I just, take care of all of them? And Rebecca's just like, yeah, that's a perfectly acceptable option. After all, any enemy of the family ends up on the chopping block sooner or later. Kang side-eyes the kid and says, your boss over there doesn't seem too thrilled with that plan. She turns to look, and the kid just about jumps out of his skin before squeaking out. The Capones have always been a force to be reckoned with, but we hit our golden age under my father's leadership. And for 20 years, Rebecca was right there, watching how he made it all happen. Whatever she says, goes. That's the Capone way. I never, ever question her judgment. Our boy Kang just fires back. But you're the boss, not Rebecca. The kid starts sweating bullets and mutters, well, I mean, she knows way more about this stuff than I do, so. But Kang just cuts him right off. So you're saying you also want to wipe them all out? Rubbing the back of his neck, the kid finally says, I'm gonna play it cool and keep things as is until we're 100% sure. That's how the old man would have handled it. He peeks over at Rebecca, asking if he's making a dumb move, but she just flashes a smile and tells him it's a solid plan. Then she goes and calls him adorable, of all things. Meanwhile, Mr. Park is stretching out his old bones, remarking how a five-way turf war between crime families is just bizarre. And Kang's mind is made up. We're hitting the kiosk first. They're basically our neighbors. He says this with his chin in his hand, like he's ordering pizza. A huge grin spreads across his face as he says, you know, you sounded like a textbook villain just then, Mr. Park. The old-timer shoots back. Well, what better time to act the part? And don't you forget, this whole world is just one big game. And boom, next scene, they're already kicking in the door of some high-rise. The poor saps guarding the place ask who they are and what business they have with the Kyo family. Seconds later, the walls are redecorated in red. These goons never even saw it coming. Mr. Park then roars, if you want to surrender, now's your shot. Anyone who starts talking gets to keep breathing. Some brave fool yells back, you'll get nothing from us. Go to hell, you psychos. And that's all the invitation the old assassin needed. He becomes a blur of motion, slicing through every last mook. Kang just watches on and mumbles, damn, he looks like he's actually enjoying this way too much. Just then, a guy smashes through a door, screaming that they're cowards for ambushing them right before the big meeting. And what do you know, it's Kyo himself, the head honcho. A soldier Mr. Park has by the scruff of the neck screams out, you think our boss would ever hide from low-life trash like you? Mr. Park just grins and asks, ever learned how to fly? Before yeeting the guy straight at Kaleo. Then he yells for Kang to get in on the party. Kang smirks and replies that he wouldn't miss it for the world. But the old man holds up a hand and reminds him, hey now, you're here to chill, remember? You can let me handle this one. This is quite possibly the weirdest conversation in this entire manhwa. Even Kang looks totally baffled. He just lets out a laugh, aims his ice shards forward, and says, all right, deal. I'll clear a path for you. He lets loose a barrage, and Mr. Park charges Kaleo like a freight train. Kang is busy cleaning up the fodder when suddenly the camera focuses on a shoe, a distinctly feminine shoe. Oh please, author Nim, let that belong to a top-tier, S-class waifu. And it turns out, there's a woman hovering outside the building, just casually watching Mr. Park commit mass mayhem. Mr. Park senses her, and so does Kang. And for some reason, they're both thinking about crows. Holding a single black feather, Kang mutters that he's got a seriously bad feeling about this. He's starting to think there's a much deeper, darker conspiracy going on behind these so-called games. The chapter ends with the mystery woman blasting off into the sky. Last time on. So, the Kior family got totally deleted. Next up on the hit list, the Gambinos. Meanwhile, Kang's just kicking back, watching the fireworks. He's like, hot damn, the old man is really going goblin mode on this place. He's wondering what got into Gramps, admitting he can't even remember the last time Mr. Park activated his try-hard mode. Looking down as his pet monster, Norah, goes on an all-you-can-eat thug buffet, he mutters that he'd rather not flex his own final boss-level power in front of Mr. Park just yet. Grinning at Norah, he says, all right buddy, clean your plate, don't leave any leftovers. Norah lets out a massive burp and gripes that his human is a total slacker, asking if he's getting comfy. Kang just shrugs. Hey, it's my day off. And boom, we cut to a greasy spoon diner where Mr. Park starts nagging. You've seriously eaten a cheeseburger for every single meal since we got here. Has your brain not melted yet? With his mouth stuffed, Kang replies, nah, the cheeseburgers here are totally S-tier, and he's on a mission to consume as many as humanly possible. The old assassin just sighs, saying there are better loot drops out there. Muttering under his breath, the kid says, you have no idea how tragic it is to get a trash-tier restaurant roll during a vacation. Then, changing the subject, he asks what Gambino's deal was. Mr. Park's face immediately switches to serious mode. Park says the guy was completely in the dark. Kang, still chewing, starts trolling the old man. And you were the one talking big, saying you'd handle everything. Park just smirks back, totally confident, promising that Gambino won't be making a peep at the meeting. You could take that promise to the bank. Cut to some dude with a glorious mane of hair, freaking out on the phone because he's getting ghosted. He's panicking, wondering if the Sanchez and Falcone families actually teamed up to yeet the Capones from existence. Then, he starts hacking up blood. He's cursing them out for dragging him into this mess. And now nobody's answering his calls. Flashback to Mr. Park laying down the law, explaining, "You've got a 72-hour timer before your circulation gets all twisted and your heart goes pop. That is, unless I untie the little knot I made in your chest." He leans in and asks, "You picking up what I'm putting down, kiddo?" The guy nods furiously, promising that Gambino will be taking a hard pass on the bidding war at the meeting. We'll also throw our full support behind finding the genius who arranged Capone's early retirement. Tapping a finger on the guy's forehead, Park says, "Good. Glad to see you're a quick study. I'll pause this for now, but I'll be seeing you." Gambino is left fuming, practically grinding his teeth into powder. He's so mad he snaps his cigar clean in half. Back in the diner, Kang is still eating and casually remarks, "Wow, so they learned absolutely nothing." Mr. Park just gives him that classic, disappointed dad stare. Says, "Hey, quit chewing that ice, you'll bust your teeth. We'll get the full story at the meeting." He also throws in that he suspects this whole thing is way bigger than just the 5 families. A little time goes by, and those creepy crows are still doing their vulture thing, just watching. The Capone family finally rolls up to the spot. The scene snaps over to a guy wrapped up like a mummy, VTO, and Gambino all posted up at a table. The mummy man is Marcellus Keogh, the big boss of the Keogh family, and he's not happy they're late. Gambino claps back that they're down 2 men, while the world's most dramatic kid is over there shaking like a leaf. He's still going on about how Sanchez and Falcone are the ones who took out his dad. Then Rebecca, the lady who was doing the superhero landing earlier, tells him it's way too early to start pointing fingers and to just chill out for a second. He immediately agrees, saying she's always right, and she flashes this totally suspicious, evil-looking smile. Yeah, Rebecca is acting super shady, isn't she? All of a sudden, some goon bursts in and yells, "Boss, you are not gonna believe this." The boss just asks if he's absolutely sure. Sanchez and Falcone were taken out? Our little genius immediately figures there's a new enemy in the game. Mr. Park just smirks, saying he figured as much, claiming the 5 families were never strong enough for this. Meanwhile, Kang, who's in the middle of another burger, is actually disappointed. He really thought he'd gotten stronger. Then a loud times click times echoes as a single light flicks on. Everyone whips their heads toward the stage, where the Crow Woman makes her grand entrance. She announces, "Welcome, you vile pests who have desecrated this city. You plot with corrupt politicians. You squeeze the poor by controlling the unions. You extort and blackmail on a whim. You filthy worms are a cancer on the peace and order of this city." She bellows that she's exposed all their dirty secrets and declares, "I, Necro, will now bring justice down upon you." Kid Capone just screams back, demanding to know if she's the one who iced Sanchez and Falcone. Necro stomps the ground and snarls, "Yes! Those worms got what they deserved, just like your father. Ouch. Talk about a low blow." Then she fires a whole volley of razor feathers straight at Kid Capone. But plot twist, Rebecca, who is apparently not the villain, dives in front of him, shouting for him to get behind her. Nightcrow is completely floored that Rebecca actually blocked her attack. Then she has a flashback to the night Mr. Capone got whacked and remembers Vito's claim that Rebecca was the one who did it. She mutters that she'd heard the same thing. And with a totally psycho smile on her face, Necro vows that this woman is going to pay for what she's done. Nightcrow then lets out a screech, calling them all degenerates. And that's our boy's cue to leap into the action, saying, "There are way too many people in this world who deserve to be unalived." And then boom, out comes the giant whale of darkness. Then Norah just pops in and freaking inhales everything. God damn. Looks like Norah literally ended the entire battle in a single bite. "That's my boy," Kang says, petting the little monster. "So, that was the Times Real Times boss, huh?" He thought Nightcrow was a total pushover, but oh boy, did he speak too soon. Just then, Nightcrow zips out of the way with a slick dodge, and her blade slices right through Norah's shadow. The cat lets out a pained yelp, and suddenly Kang realizes this lady ain't no joke. He instantly lunges forward, snatching her by the cloak, points a finger gun right at her head and whispers, "Bang." And just like that, the Deathmark skill triggers, slapping her with a massive debuff that tanks her dexterity and evasion by a full 1,000 points each. He follows up by switching skills, summoning X9 Mag, which pops open a status window, revealing all of his enemies' abilities. The crazy bird lady absolutely loses it and starts screeching. Razor-sharp feathers start blasting out from her cloak like a storm of daggers. Better watch your six. Turns out she's also packing tons of explosives. Look out. Nightcrow goes for the kill, but her target was just one of Kang's shadow clones. Naruto would be so proud. Kang scoffs, calling her nothing but a terrorist playing dress-up as a hero. Nightcrow finally notices the debuff and snarls in frustration. A skill that weakens your opponent. So you're an outsider. Then she lets out a sharp whistle, and her crows dive-bomb them at insane speeds and start exploding all over the place. Exploding crows. Damn, that's just messed up. That's a straight-up supervillain move. Mr. Park is already dodging for his life, leaping from side to side, shouting that there are way too many of them. He then starts yelling at Kang, saying they should have swapped roles, since his class is built for one-on-one fights. Kang, of course, just trolls him. He's like, "Nope, you're the one who said, the bosses are all yours. That guy's the hero here, and we have to protect his times bosses. Besides, you're way better at this whole bodyguard thing than I am." Still frantically dodging explosions, Park screams, "What the hell are you talking about? I told you, I'm a pure-blooded assassin." Then Kang flashes that signature psycho grin of his and says, "And sending people to the Shadow Realm just happens to be my time's specialty." He swings his sword, but Nightcrow parries the blow, yelling, "You should be protecting the world. Why are you siding with evil?" Kang just replies that he couldn't care less about saving the world. All he cares about are the rewards. Nightcrow spreads her arms wide, pleading, "I don't know what lies they've fed you, but those scumbags are rotten to the core, especially the Capones. They slaughtered my entire family. And yet, the courts just let them walk, declaring them innocent. They were all too scared of retaliation to do the right thing. That's the disgusting reality of this filthy city. And that's why we became the very justice this city cried out for. It's not too late. Join us in our crusade to purge this scum and bring peace to our home. Asterisk squelch. Asterisk." And that's when his big speech got cut short. Nightcrow found himself turned into a human pincushion by Noir's spikes. Bored, Kang scratches his ear and mutters, "Dude, you talk way too much," before strolling over and ripping the guy's mask off. He adds that he's not a fan of people who hide their faces. But then, he's actually stunned. It's just some kid. The boy clutches something under his jacket, hissing, "Don't you dare underestimate true justice." Asterisk, click. Asterisk, Kang just stands there, with a blank look on his face, wondering what in the world that little punk just did. A split second later, a massive fireball erupts from the upper floors. A wicked grin slices through the flames. It's Necro, and he's clearly enjoying the show. "That woman of yours told me 3 days ago that the summit was happening right here. Care to guess how many party favors I planted?" The explosion chain reacts, leaving Kang speechless for a second. But Mr. Park rushes in, just as Kang snaps out of it and summons Noir. In a flash, the two of them make their escape. From a safe distance, they watch the entire skyscraper go up like a Roman candle. When the smoke finally begins to clear, Rebecca approaches, thanking the pair for not ditching the fight when things got hot. She explains that nearly all the business deals from the summit have conveniently fallen under Capone control. Kang just smirks and says, "The young boss is safe and sound, and the Capones came out on top. It all worked out exactly the way you wanted, didn't it?" Looks like his job here was officially done. But then, his playful demeanor vanished. He said he had just one more question for her. As he spoke, 8 shadowy blades materialized around her neck. "Was every single part of this mess a piece of your grand design?" She coolly replied, "And what if it was? What does that have to do with you?" Spreading his arms wide, Kang began to lecture. "Well, my contract states I'm to eliminate every time's enemy of the Capone family. And that list now includes you, since you backstabbed everyone. You played a part in the hit on Capone's own executive members, and you even sicked your pet hero on the other family bosses to take them out. And what proof do you have of any of this?" Rebecca shot back. Kang simply held up one of Meg's feathers. "I heard it straight from the hero's mouth. He sang like a canary, told me everything about how you sold out the Capones. You're the traitor. You wiped out all the rival families just to put a kid on the throne as your personal puppet. And in the end, you become the secret ruler of Black York. I'd say that makes you an enemy of the Capones, too." She just smiled, sweetly denying it. "Oh, I would never do such a thing. Everything I did was for the good of young Master Vito. He's just too kind, too naive," she explained. "That's precisely why I had to arrange for the Godfather's retirement, who strong-armed him into the top spot and took care of every little problem on the outside." clasping her hands together, all pious-like. She spouted some nonsense about how everything she did was to protect him from this big, bad world. Playing the Guardian card, she claimed she was just doing what had to be done. Kane wasn't buying it, pointing out that she still backstabbed the man who raised her just to use a kid as her puppet to run the city. That's when Mr. Park decided to step in and add his 2 cents. Some guardian you are. All you did was make the kid a helpless puppet so you could reap all the rewards. Smirking, she shot back that they didn't have a shred of proof to pin on her. But Park just casually swung open a door and said, "Well, let's see what our surprise guest has to say about that." Rebecca looked like she'd seen a ghost. The boy was standing there, bawling his eyes out, unable to process her betrayal. She started begging him to wait, but some kind of dark, nasty aura began to swirl around her. Then Vito spoke up, his voice ice-cold. "You were right about one thing, Rebecca." He balled his hand into a tight fist. He then whipped out a piece and declared, "This world really is a cruel place." And then, bam! A system window popped up. Tower cleared. All enemies of the Capone family have been eliminated. Mr. Park strolled off, commenting that he felt like the main character in a gritty noir film. Kang couldn't help but troll him, yelling, "You? A main character? In your dreams, old man?" And this wasn't even a noir flick. It was more like some cheesy superhero movie. The old-timer just chuckled and said they should team up more often. Right then, some panicked underling burst into the room. "Sir, we've got a massive problem." He reported that a level 5 tower in Suwon was about to have a tower break. The friendly vibe died instantly. Both of them froze, and Kang started breaking out in a cold sweat. So, here's the deal. The tower they were talking about was a real piece of work. It was a level 5 monster that a team of so-called elites from the association already took a crack at. After getting their butts absolutely handed to them on the first try, they barely managed to escape. One of the guys was totally losing it on the others, yelling that whenever a tower run fails, the entire team gets hit with a 3-point penalty, and everybody gets demoted. Feeling the pressure, another guy said they could totally fix it. All they had to do was clear the tower on hard mode. Easy peasy. The whole team just stared at him like he was a complete idiot. The leader, rocking a ridiculous mushroom haircut, finally exploded. "What? Did you completely forget how hard we worked just to get to this point? You want to go crawling back to the association with our tails between our legs?" The other 3 just stared at the ground and mumbled, "No." He kept going, "Good. Then we are wiping these penalty points, no matter what it takes. We are beating this thing on hard mode." And with that inspiring speech, the team marched right back in, this time on hard mode. The result? A complete and utter wipeout. Kang knew the association's point system was a grind, but this was just next-level ridiculous. His mind drifted to the tower break. Sure, they're a rare sight these days, but back in the first 2 seasons, they were practically a weekly disaster. Back when nobody had a clue what was going on, failing was the norm. And the price for it was absolutely savage. Every time a tower went down, it was a one-way ticket to the afterlife for tons of people, even their nearest and dearest. But now, he muttered, things are different. With a smirk, he cracked open his personal treasure trove of gear and skill cards. 3 juicy items popped out, including one legendary piece that was so rare it was practically a myth. The Storyteller's Tracker Talisman, the Bracelet of the Wind, and the Ring of Power. And the cards? Oh boy. 2 more legendaries. The first was an overcoat that tanked his defense by 900 points, but jacked up his evasion by a whopping 1200, and dexterity by 300. The other was the Shadow Mantle, a nasty piece of work that stretched his shadow into a cloak and plunged the whole area into a personal blackout. And just like that, our boy was kitted out and ready to crash this tower break party. He did a quick bracelet swap and fine-tuned one of his abilities. And right on cue, the system announced the tower break was kicking off. Our boy stepped out of his ride looking like an absolute Chad. The crowd instantly lost their minds, screaming that the Hero King himself had graced them with his presence. But Kang wasn't exactly basking in the glory. He just stared up at the sky, a grim look on his face, already feeling the bad vibes rolling in. While all the fanboys and fangirls around him were cheering and thanking their lucky stars he was there, something started to ooze out of the portal, and a crimson flash lit up the sky. The system's countdown began. 10, 9. Some random wannabe hero yelled that it was starting, and for everyone to get ready. 8, 7, 6. Kang casually placed a hand on the guy's shoulder and said, "Listen up. If you fall into any of the following categories, I suggest you make like a tree and get out of here." He held up one finger. First, anyone who gets caught in the crossfire of my skills is gonna get deleted. Second, if you can't keep up with me, you're getting left behind for the monsters. Third, let's be real. Anyone who isn't me is probably gonna get wiped. And with that, the tower break officially began. Monsters started flooding out, and Kang unleashed his full shadow power, while the other heroes wisely decided to nope the heck out of there. The horde just kept coming, but Kang was just a blur, carving through them all with his shadows, casually noting the sheer variety of cannon fodder. You had your orcs, some lizard-looking dudes, and a bunch of other freaks so bizarre he couldn't even begin to guess what they were supposed to be. Based on the tower's name, he figured the last chumps who tried this had to fight other humans, which meant these overgrown pests weren't even on the official guest list for this dungeon. He frowned, wondering where in the world they were all spawning from. Then, out of nowhere, some news jockey in a chopper pops up, yelling, "Get a load of this, folks! The Hero King is putting on a one-man show, holding the line against a level 5 tower break on hard mode. People can talk smack all they want, but you can't deny his skills are absolutely busted." This reporter was either packing some serious guts or was just completely unhinged, flying right over a monster apocalypse just to get the scoop. Somebody give this dude a medal. Just then, red lightning tore across the sky, and the system chimed in with a message, "Entertain me more." Oh great, the Monarch of the Abyss was summoning something extra edgy from the void. But the reporter just kept on commentating, like his own mortality was a minor inconvenience. He was blabbing on about the portal changing color, which meant an abyssal tier baddie was coming through. Meanwhile, Kang was just casually shredding through mobs, muttering to himself, "That reporter is way too committed to his job. Better scram, before I decide to feed you to the monsters." And with that, he blasted straight for the abyssal creature the monarch had so graciously sent. The system pinged. It was an abyssal slime. Kang let out a smirk and unleashed a barrage of blades, only to realize that little appetizer wasn't going to be enough. He dropped down with Norah right beside him, raised a hand, and declared, "To deal with a blob this big, you gotta go bigger." He then summoned colossal ice spikes and activated the Charlotte's Web skill card. You don't exactly need a 5-star education to figure out what that one's about to do. The web shot out like a cannon, wrapping the slime up and dicing it into a million little jello cubes. Norah, of course, was having the time of her life, gobbling up all the slimy leftovers. The system officially announced that the abyssal slime was toast. The tower break had been successfully shut down, and the Monarch of the Abyss, apparently pleased with the performance, gifted him an abyssal jewel as a party favor. And naturally, right on cue, guess who decided to show up and ruin the moment? Yep, a whole swarm of everyone's favorite profession. 5,000 reporters flooded the area. They were all screaming about how the Hero King had stopped the entire tower break all by his lonesome. Kang just stood there looking cool as a cucumber, his cat by his side, getting ready to smash that like button. It really helps Mamoru keep making more of this awesome content for his amazing viewers.